Hello, everybody, and welcome to Absolute Sim Race. It's the 10th round of the BSR Tegiwa MX5 trophy here at Imola. I'm Edward Main, joining in the commentary box for yet another exciting round of racing here is the wonderful Dan Handover. And how are we doing today, Dan?
Oh, magical as always, Ed. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. As always a pleasure to have everyone on board. Yes, Imola, a absolutely fantastic track, and one of which I am very much looking forward to for this race. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I can't wait.
One of my favourite tracks, both on iRacing as a driver and also a commentator. There's something so exciting about driving on this corner. So much history and some good, obviously, some very tragic, but that doesn't make the circuit nonetheless enjoyable to drive. It demands a lot from the drivers as well. There's nearly every single type of corner you can think of here on this circuit. You've got fast sweepers, chicanes, hairpins as well, elevation change, let's not forget, through Aqua Minerale. Drivers need to be on their very best to really do well here.
Well, I think that's the thing as well, isn't it? You know, it's a track of commitment. It's something that the MX5, obviously, you need in the MX5 as well. You need commitment, but more so in something like this, more so in something like the MX5, which is just so... Again, at a track like this, you've got to utilise every single inch of track, and you've got to utilise every single bit of the car's power, of which realistically it hasn't got all that much, bear in mind. So you've got to be a little bit savvy with how you use the power itself. I think, again, it's actually a really, when you look at the technicalities of the circuit, it's actually a very, very big challenge.
Yeah, it is, and we are currently just at the end of practice. The drivers will soon make their way into qualifying, and that gives us a little bit of time to talk through the championship standings. Unfortunately, we don't have the graphic ready for you. It's been a busy week from last to this one, so we don't have everything, but we can tell you that Jason Cooper is still leading the championship by a margin of nearly 500 points. He's got currently 2,642 points to his name. Second place, we see Andy McEwen for Year One Racing in Pro-Am, 2,150 points. So he's doing a very good job, is Andy, in the Pro-Am category. And then we go down to, obviously, Luke Cooper, 2,113 points, currently in third position, ahead of Arthur Panzel, 2,039. James Clark, Jason Clark, I think James Clark, actually, in Swift Cooper Esports, 2,015 points. And then the nearest Pro-Am to Andy McEwen is Sam Smith for Gaton Simsport, Pro-Am, 2008 points. So there is nearly 150 points separating first from second in Pro-Am. Not the biggest of gaps, but still enough for Andy McEwen to be comfortable and maybe into this final stage of the championship, just be a bit more conservative and measured with his driving. He doesn't need to take so many risks because of the position he's put himself in from his drives earlier on in the season. It's
a good point, isn't it? Like, you know, you can't push too hard in the sense that you've got to get to a certain degree, as you say, where Andy's now got to look at it. He's got to comfortably sort of recognise what's going on, and you've got to then base yourself and base the remainder of the season. Bear in mind, there isn't too, like there's a couple of rounds left, isn't there, Ed? So, you know, you haven't got long. You've got to be controlled, and you've got to make sure that you keep a clean head so that when you go into these final rounds, you know exactly what you're going to do, and you have a game plan as well. I know sometimes doesn't necessarily work out as well as you normally would want, but at the same time, you've got to have that sort of game plan in your head. Everyone's now out and qualifying. It looks like a race, doesn't it, to be fair? Already everyone is out, and they're all wanting to get a slipstream. Yeah, they are really trying to find that track position. The reason why, of course, when I was running down through the results, I focused more on the Pro-Am Championship rather than the Pro in the Am Championship fight, is that those are seemingly done and dusted. Jason Cooper in the Pro class has got over 500 points to his nearest rival, and Linscombe Hatfield in the Am class has got just about 200 points to his nearest rival of Fiona Siddons. So in that situation, I think both the Pro and Am Championships might be settled down, but Pro-Am is going to be really hotly contested because Andy McEwen is going to have two drivers close behind, Sam Smith and Nick Clibbins, that are going to try everything they can do to get the best possible results in these final few rounds of racing. They are indeed, and it's also play for as well. I mean, you know, you look at it as well, realistically, something can happen if drivers aren't careful, and said, you know, even in the championships, you know, further down the field, both the Pro-Am and the Am, you know, it can all be shaken up as well. Something can happen realistically until the last round. You know, you've just got to be again, you've got to be consistent. There's so much going on as well, and there's so many drivers, so many things that can happen, so many different alternatives that you can't let up for a second. Each of these drivers, nobody's saying Andy McEwen's got to play it a little bit safe, but at the same time, you still can't be driving at that 90%. You've got to be driving at 99% every single lap for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, however, one thing that does tend to help out Andy McEwen is his qualifying pace. He is out on track at the moment, just trying to find out where he is. Actually, that could be him in the background, about to start his first lap of qualifying. The times being set now are just purely out lap pace. They're not going to be representative of a true lap time. You can see, actually, Andy's got himself a good little spot just behind the 777 of Douglas Stewart, but he's getting that slipstream of all of the cars in front. Maybe this could help him out. Hopefully the traffic doesn't hold him up too much. That's at least from his perspective. Maybe the likes of those competitors around him, the likes of Luke Cooper, might be hoping that Andy gets a little bit held up just coming into Villeneuve chicane now and then into the hairpin of Tosa. Different lines being taken. Couples onto the grass. Usually you want to get a nice later apex, which is what all the drivers tend to go for. You can use the exit as well. Andy McEwen using all of the exit there. Not, of course, an area where you get penalised for it. On iRacing, you're allowed to go through there on the track limits. And especially here, coming up to the top of the hill, you can really take a few liberties with track limits here on the exit. You can see several drivers doing just that. It's a faster way to go through. And then Aqua Minerale plunging down the hill they go. Right-hand kink to navigate. And then again, another right-hander as they go up the hill. Drivers making a few mistakes up in front. I think that could be the 444 of Julian Schroer. Actually, Julian Schroer got through that fine. That was the 222 of Arthur Panzer. Usually when you see the numbers all the same, I tend to go with one of the drivers. But because all of the sticky racing drivers have three numbers, it's a bit harder to distinguish. But of course, let's not forget Julian Schroer last time out got his first race victory at Sebring. So he's definitely one to watch out for here as well.
Yeah, Julian Schroer, very, very good performance yesterday. There is Julian Schroer just going through that we can see now on the screen. Yeah, as you said, very, very good performance. Something that can't be, that can't be ignored, and I'm sure that's definitely given Julian Schroer a confidence boost as they're going on into the final, remaining rounds. And again, that confidence is key, as they say, but at the same time, you've got to be a little bit careful. Just having a quick look, this is one of the things that drivers have got to watch out for, because Julian Schroer's teammate, if we were to look just up ahead, which is Douglas Stewart in the 777, is look at the toe that Douglas Stewart got. Actually, interestingly enough, backing off, which I find a little bit strange. Possibly could be. I thought he was actually going to be.
I think that was an outlap actually from Douglas Stewart, or an invalidate lap time, because he ran wide coming through Aqua Minerale, I believe, or at some point on the lap. So that has meant he's not been able to set a valid lap time. You can see all the drivers that have set lap times on the side, and it's a very jumbled up qualifying order. You can see Jason Cooper all the way down in 10th place, having not been able to set a quick lap time just yet. Traffic is really starting to play a part in this qualifying session, I think. It's all about just getting through and getting the laps early in, because 2-minute lap time, if you make a mistake early on, you've got near enough 2 minutes before you can have a second chance. As we see Jason Cooper down in 10th, normality is restored somewhat as he comes up to the top of the timing sheets.
Yeah, indeed. I say only. There's nigh on 0.3 of a second now, of which is the gap between himself and Lee Holmes, and that's going to be something that I think realistically, again, the man that we've got to watch out for is Andy McEwen. So Andy McEwen has set a lap. It's a 2:07.34 at the moment. Looking at the times, he's quick in Sector 3. As he goes through Sector 4, this is going to be a tricky one, going over the curb. Just someone runs wide, I believe. I couldn't quite see who that was. I think that was possibly one of the Coopers, I believe. It was Luke Cooper.
I don't know. I think that was one of the Rapid Motorsport cars as well, going wide at the chicane at the top of the hill there. So we're going to see Andy McEwen on the last part of this lap. You can see personal bests being set across nearly every single sector, bar the first. Look at how much he's getting the rear kicked out as well through these final couple of corners. This is going to give him a good run, good amount of slipstream as well across the line. He's up behind Douglas Stewart. What is this going to be from Andy McEwen? No purpose. This might not be enough to challenge Jason Cooper at the top of the timing sheets. This should be enough to improve his front standing, but it isn't. So maybe there was an off track somewhere in this lap that's put Andy McEwen out of step a little bit with the rest of the field. Again, not able to get ahead of Douglas Stewart. And look at the run he gets through the first chicane. A couple wheels over onto the curbs, but the sausage curbs don't hurt you nearly as much in these MX5s as they would, say, a low-slung car, maybe a Formula car. And look, very well done there, Douglas Stewart, getting out of the way. I think maybe his chicane wasn't as good as he'd hoped and then decided to back out of it and give Andy McEwen now free track space. So you can see on this lap what he's going to be able to match. Hopefully we can go on board and just see the lines he's taken again. Opting for a slightly later apex, getting on the power nice and early. A little bit too early there as the rear starts to kick out on him and then rising up the hill before plunging back down. Jason Cooper improving even more, but only by 9 thousandths. So his lap times are very consistent. That could be a worry come the race pace for this man, Andy McEwen.
It could very well do. That's a point. It also could actually be something that maybe Jason Cooper's just sort of... He might even have more in the tank. We don't know. He did set a purple sector 2. So, you know, realistically, again, Jason Cooper is looking absolutely rapid this evening. And then Lee Holmes as well. Lee Holmes, very, very respectable time. Currently, P1 in the Pro-Am category, and obviously second overall. 700ths ahead of Arthur Panzel. So again, watch out for that battle in the first race, because that's going to be... Actually, no, apologies. He's a couple of tenths ahead of Arthur Panzel. And then Arthur Panzel is only 700ths away from Sam Smith. So, as you were saying, normality has resumed, Ed, in regards to the gaps that we normally see, which are almost non-existent for everyone in this particular league, which again is great racing for us because we get a chance to see lots of racing throughout the circuit, which is fantastic stuff. Just having a quick look in the bottom sector, we see Andy McEwen again making beating another personal best in the last sector as well. So there is time there. He does go up into P6 now, and he's only a couple of hundredths away from a top 5. So realistically, I mean, there's another half a second in it, I would imagine, a minimum half a second for Andy McEwen. Just needs to hook that lap up and try and get a bit of clean track as well. I think realistically, well, 9 minutes, I would be jumping back to the pits as soon as I could, getting a fresh set of tyres, and then off I go again for the final run.
Yeah, we're going to see what Andy McEwen's going to do in this time out. I think maybe he's just going a little bit slower, making sure he's got clear track space on the front, maybe allowing his tyres to cool a little bit, perhaps. We're going to see, obviously, he backed out to allow the 2 cars ahead out onto clear track, not hampering their qualifying efforts. Could be a question for later on as Jason Cooper goes even faster now and builds his advantage by a further margin. You can see now 4 tenths faster than Lee Holmes, but Lee Holmes, credit to him, he's having a great qualifying session up onto the front row. So Andy McEwen, while we're seeing him struggle a little bit in this session, others are starting to profit, the likes of Lee Holmes, Arthur Panzel, 2 drivers that are really having a good qualifying session.
Well, as you say, you know, one man's loss is another man's gain, as they say, you know, at the end of the day, and this is something that could very well be.
Another thing I've just noticed, is that the battle for the AM class fight is actually very close to between Glenn Humberston and Linscombe Hetfield, less than a tenth of a second in it, and across a 2-minute lap time. That is, well, near enough no difference at all, isn't it? That's a very, very close battle between the pair of them. We're just following Glenn Humberston now through Aqua Minerale. Up the hill he goes, and then coming into the straight before Variante Alta. Really have to mash the curbs through here, don't you, Dan, to get the lap time to sort of shallow out the corner as much as possible. Opting not to hit the first one or the second. There's a little bit more time in there for Glenn Humberston, but maybe that's just how his driving style is. Maybe he's got his car set up that it doesn't ride the curbs so nicely.
Possibly, yeah. I think realistically, it's, you know, when you look at it in a way, you know, you've got to have momentum. It's momentum. These cars are all based on it. You know, momentum is so key here, and as long as you can keep that momentum up, you're going to get a fast lap time in the bag. It's almost guaranteed. Jason Cooper's now extended his lead now to a 2:03.39, and now extended it to nigh on half a second in the final 4.5 minutes left of 3.5 minutes left of qualifying. Apologies. What is Glenn Humberstone going to do? Is he going to extend the lead? No, he doesn't at the moment, currently. But I'm interested, what is Michael Linscombe Hatfield going to do? Because he's not too far off. I'm looking at his second time, and he thinks 600ths of a second. I mean, it doesn't take a lot, does it? That's one corner. Someone's having a small excursion, making up their own track there. Couldn't quite see who that was. And I believe, who was it? That was Luke Cooper. I believe it was... Oh, it wasn't Luke Cooper making up his own track. Couldn't quite see who that was.
Potentially.
Julian
I think
Schroer.
that might have been Julian Schroer. I'm not sure. I think there was a car near him that looked like one of the Spicky Racing machines, but that could just be my eyes deceiving me. I'm not 100% sure, but we will be able to see Luke Cooper, I think, getting out of the way of Linscombe Hatfield. You can see Linscombe getting right over onto the left-hand side of the track, trying to get any extra amount of speed. That could be those 600ths of a second being found, just that little bit extra straight line speed. Those are the margins that we're talking about the drivers aiming for, though. It's such a close battle that they'll need any little bit they can to come out on top. Look at this, though, through Piratella. Such a really fun corner to go through. Just send it through and hope it sticks. You need to trust the car, trust the set, but also trust your ability to catch it. If it steps out to you again as well through Aqua Minerale, carry the speed down into the corner, try and straighten it up in time for the braking zone as you go over the right-hander and up the hill. A little bit loose, wasn't that, from Colin Sanson, but what can he pull off into Variante Alta? Hard on the brakes, bumping over one curb, just kissing the other, and sometimes that's a little bit better to hit the first curb, nudge the second, because it doesn't mean you're accelerating with wheels off the ground. You want to have all wheels at the back on the ground, spinning away and pushing you forwards out the corner, so that could help out Colin Sansom here, down into the two Ravats as the first one. Corner not opened up maybe quite as much as he'd hoped, but he gets on the power nice and early. Couple is onto the grass. That might be an invalidation of the lap time. I'm not sure.
Probably almost guaranteed that'll be an off track. Realistically, when you look at how far off, I mean, again, it's one of those things where it isn't off track. It doesn't penalise you. Well, it penalises you in terms of time because you do lose time, but it still gives you the off track. So I would imagine that will be Colin Sampson's lap invalidated, but still a couple of more left to go. You think it's a 2-minute lap? Actually, realistically, anyone that crosses the line now will still get a chance to drive a lap. Anyone after, that is it. No, actually, do you know what? They're not going to. That's it. So we've got another, minute left, and I think realistically, Colin Sampson, he's not going to get another lap, is he?
Yeah, the final chance for drivers to improve. Lee Holmes not having any more chances. He's in the pits. Jason Cooper, I think, is out on the circuit, following Ryan Main as well. I believe Andy McEwen is coming to the halfway point of his final lap, so we'll be keeping our eyes all across the timing sheets everywhere to see if there's any late movers and shakers. Currently, Ryan Main coming up to Piratella, down in 11th place, trying to crack into that top 10. He needs to find 2 and a bit tenths of a second. That looked like a very good run through Piratella, getting that sort of run off of the circuit, but it's not invalidated. You can, of course, use that runoff area. Carrying a lot of speed down the hill, which is important. The exit as well, going through Aqua Minerale. Not too bad. This could be enough for him to get up the order.
It could very well be. Annie McEwen, though, again, just having a quick look. Sector times, they're there or thereabouts, but they're not 100%. That is the end of qualifying, bear in mind as well now. That is it, done and dusted. So anyone that crosses the line now will not be able to get another lap. This is the last lap for everyone. Have a look at the gaps on the left-hand side as well. Have a look at the intervals. 600ths of a second, 200ths of a second. There doesn't need to be too much gain for you to see possibly 2 or even 3 positions. You just got to be nice and controlled, nice and careful. Andy McEwen's actually gone into the pits. So Andy McEwen's settling for P8.
Yeah, not good enough for Andy McEwen, unfortunately, to improve. Taking the option to peel off into the pits, practice pit entry if maybe his races don't go his way. He needs to come in for repairs. Ryan Main comes across the line, and is there an improvement on the cards? Is he going to crack into that top 10? No, there isn't, and no time's actually coming through, so that tells us there must have been, at some point on that lap, an invalidation again. Oh, late change. Luke Cooper up 2 places into 5th. That's going to be very good for his chances in the race. And do you know what? I think he might have got a bit of tow from his teammate Jason on that one, because you could just see as they came across the line, Jason Cooper getting out of the way and letting past Luke Cooper. So that's going to help him out in the race. He's going to be starting a couple more positions higher up.
I was thinking that actually because I was looking at Jason
and
Cooper's...
Linscombe Hatfield's improved as well.
Absolutely. Well, there's a couple of things. Yeah, Linscombe Hatfield now gone up into P12 overall, currently leading now the AM category in qualifying. I was noticing that Jason Cooper's last couple of laps, they weren't lighting the timing tower on fire, and that would sort of confirm the suspicion that I initially had as to wondering why he was out on circuit. But good position, though. It's put Luke Cooper up into P5, so teamwork makes dream work, as they say. Glenn Humberstone, though, he is on another lap, although not quite able at this moment in time for the first half, able to add any additional or take any additional time off of his current position as it goes. Oh, that was close. That will most probably be an off track, I would imagine. Maybe able to get away with it. I highly doubt it, though.
Yeah, so I think actually that could be the it for qualifying anyway. I don't know if Glenn Humberston got across the line in time. I sincerely doubt it. This could be it. And again, making a mistake like that through Variante Alta will definitely be the final nail in the coffin if that was a valid lap time. You can see drivers opting to peel off into the pits. James Clark being one of them, speeding his way into the pits, completely ignoring the speed limit. But of course, the checker flag has been waved in this qualifying session. And I think we should be able to see the drivers coming out onto the circuit very shortly. But good teamwork actually displayed from Swift Cooper Esports Racing drivers. Jason Cooper, he had that advantage in qualifying and thought, you know what, I'll use this chance to help out my teammate Luke. And that allowed Luke to start that little bit higher up the grid, making up 2 places, getting to the top 5. And also, most importantly, that shuffled the order a bit and put Nick Clibbers and Andy McEwen right together on the grid. And of course, these two are championship rivals. This could be very, very good. Having a look as well where Sam Smith is. He's starting all the way up in 4th. A good chance for him to claw some points back in the Pro-Am Championship fight. Look at this, though. The cars making their way up to the grid now. How about we run through the starting order?
Let us do indeed. Jason Cooper, pole position with Lee Holmes in P2. Arthur Panzel managing P3 with Sam Smith in 4th. Luke Cooper P5. James Clark in 6th with Nick Clemens 7th. Andy McEwen in P8, not the qualifying that he would have wanted. James Neve in P9 and Douglas Stewart running out to the top 10. We then have Ryan Main P11 with Michael Lincecum Hatfield in P12. Nick Possons P13, Julian Schreier P14, Glenn Humberstone 15th, Colin Sanson in 16th, Tom Griffiths 17th, Craig Cockrell in P18th, Craig McDonald in P19, Simon Robson running out the top 20 with Shane Piggott P21, Adam Fox P22, Robert Noble P23 and Liam Stimpson taking P24 on the grid. In the final, few drivers, Fiona Siddons P25, Mike Oliver P26 and Pino Kaivel from the 88 Tech Orange car in P27.
Yeah, so what a grid. We have obviously Jason Cooper, as he tends to do, puts the car on pole position. Another dominant performance, you have to say. There's nothing that can stop this man, especially in the first race. Qualifying pace is absolutely electric, and he can transfer that into the race result as well. But Lee Holmes, he's had a very, very good effort in qualifying. So maybe Jason won't have it all his own way. Slipstream can be very, very strong at this Imola circuit all the way along this start-finish straight. It's a long run as well, not forgetting into the first corner. So even if Jason Cooper gets better off the line, he might be under threat from both Arthur Panzel right up behind him in 3rd place, but also Lee Holmes if he dips back into that slipstream right away. So we'll see the cars on the grid now. The lights will come on. The engine notes will begin to rise. This first race is one to really, really enjoy here. You can see now we're about to get underway for the first time here at Imola. And the green flag is waved, and Jason Cooper doesn't get the best of starts. Actually, an amazing start from Arthur Panzer, who's already going to challenge Lee Holmes into the first corner, getting up behind Jason Cooper. This could be very close, you know. Into turn 1 they go. Side by side in the background for 2nd position. Arthur Panzer takes that chance easily, you have to say, and now we'll be able to set his sights on closing up to Jason Cooper and keeping him on us throughout the race. You can see as well, Andy McEwen and Nick Clibbins are going to be going wheel to wheel into the Villeneuve chicane. Andy McEwen sending it late on the brakes, trying to go for the inside line, but Clibbins very bravely holds the defensive line around the outside to then get the inside for the right-hander, and they sort themselves out just about. Oh, in the background as well, is that a bit of a lunge from James Neve on James Clark? About of the Jameses yet again here. We saw these two having a great battle at Watkins Glen. They're carrying that on here at Imola. Nick Postance as well in the Rapid Motorsport car. Blue and yellow, wheel to wheel with Ryan Main into Piatella. Around the outside, Ryan Main's going to carry that speed, carry that momentum, try and have an overlap perhaps into Aqua Minerale, but there's none going. All of the cars, though, having a relatively clean opening lap. Can't see anything too major, so very good job, because this circuit, especially Imola into the first chicane, is very, very tricky. We hear a bit of a spinner in the background. I think Craig McDonald and Julian Schroer lost a couple of positions there. Difficult, of course, on the first lap. Cold tyres. Aquamin is not the easiest corner at the best of times, is it, Dan?
No, it's not, to be fair, and especially when you've got lots of things going on with this opening lap. You've got to be...
He's on an absolute monster charge. He's already up a few places and up to 4th. What on earth happened there?
Well, I don't know, to be fair. I was looking at it. I mean, as you go up the order, I wonder what happened. James Clark's actually just made a move on Sam Smith, and I wonder if it's all starting to get a bit, people are jostling for position here now, and they're trying to, push past. But what happens is, once you make one move, you've got to be conscious that someone behind you doesn't try and make the second move. This now is a great position for anyone behind, and essentially, unfortunately, I think James Clark is going to lose out on 1, possibly even 2 positions here. Andy McEwen's clear at this point in P4. He's sailing away. As qualifying didn't quite work out for him. He's really making amends with that at the start of this race. First lap has now gone. Back onto the second. Do you know what? Like I said, James Clark didn't have anything to hold. Sam Smith drives around the outside, and that's it. Off he goes. So nothing that could be done there, unfortunately, for James Clark. And he now drops down into P6, but he's got to be careful. He might drop down even further down the order if he isn't careful. He's got to make sure he stays with Sam Smith, and he doesn't allow that gap to go any more, realistically, than what it is now.
So the first lap is in the books, and there's been big moves and shakers through the field so far. Shane Piggott up 6 places into 15th, so a good effort from him. As I say that, actually on the timing screens, it doesn't say that Shane Piggott's up in 15th place, so maybe my timing software is having a little bit of a hiccup there. Andy McEwen, though, definitely up 4 places, so a good effort from Andy. Tom Griffiths as well, doing very good, up 5 into 12th. And we're going to see this. Oh, it's a slowdown, actually. Is that from Sam Smith, I believe?
Yes.
So Sam Smith getting caught out. That was probably into Variante Alta. It's so easily done, just getting a little bit out of shape, just trying to carry too much. And there's a big moment in the background. Several cars all barreling into one another on the exit of Aqua Minerale. Hopefully there's no more movement, there's no more collisions. Oh my word, that's a very nasty, nasty incident there. I think that was just caused by one car getting a little bit out of shape. We're going to go on board this time with James Clark and just see exactly what happened. So into the first part of Aqua Minerale, it seems one, just a couple of wheels onto the grass on turning. The car spins up, swaps ends, and just comes onto the circuit right in front of a whole train of MX5s. That's just unfortunate.
Well, I mean, realistically, he was on the brakes. Nothing nothing that could be done at that point there, unfortunately. So it is what it is. It's a shame that things like that happen, but it's just part and parcel of it. To a certain degree, there's sometimes you can't do anything.
Big damage to Tom Griffiths.
Yeah, Tom Griffiths he's seen better days, hasn't he? That's a big shame. Big shame.
That's going to really, really hurt him as well, because on a circuit which is fairly power dominated, you have to say, with this straight, as soon as you get front end damage to your MX5, you lose so much straight line speed. You're going to see here, he's in the slipstream of, I believe that to be Adam Fox, but look how much he's dropping back. He just doesn't have any speed whatsoever. Through the corners, it'll be all right, but on these straights, he is just going to be nowhere, and it's going to be heartbreak. He's going to obviously nurse it home till the end of the race, hope for a favourable reverse grid race result, but this is going to be a very painful 10 minutes for him, I'm sure. But on the complete other end of the spectrum, Jason Cooper is having a wonderful race at the front of the field. Hasn't given up the lead at all since the start. He's got Arthur Panzel in behind, but Arthur doesn't look like he'll be challenging Jason anytime soon. They seem to be content to keep the gap around about 1 second. Lee Holmes actually as well been able to get to the back of this train and build the advantage to Andy McEwen in 4th. So you see these front 3 keeping stable with one another, just I think working together more than anything else to keep Andy McEwen behind. And then don't forget, Andy McEwen himself has a good margin to some of his main championship rivals of Sam Smith. I think could be very happy with a 4th place finish.
Well, I definitely think that I would be happy with a 4th place finish, if I am honest. And I don't think that's going to be something that to really complain about. Bear in mind as well, you've got 3 other races left to go. You've got 3 races left to go within this round. So, it's still all to play for. And I think this is actually a very, very good positioning. Look at this train here. My goodness. You've got actually a really, really good position to... that was a little bit slow there from Colin Sampson. That was very slow. Actually checked up, to be fair, Julian Schroer, so he might lose out on a position. Keep an eye out for what Simon Robson's going to do. He might try and have a bit of a look up the inside on the Gatton, in the Gatton Sim Sports MX5. Is it going to be going into the second to last corner? No, it's not. I think Colin Sampson just hit the entry on the curb just a little bit wrong, pushed the car over. What has happened to Arthur Panzel? Because I think Arthur Panzel's actually gone up into P2. That may have been a little bit of time ago. And I've only, to be fair, something I've only actually just realised. So while the band's all, oh no, that was down at the first lap. What am I talking about? I'm talking rubbish. Ignore me. I think realistically, just swiftly moving on from that this here, I think being in this sort of position, Julian Schroeder is not too bad because while he's lost that position at the front, but he's still got some Robson. He's not close enough behind to really utilise that toe. So I think he's in a bit of a no man's land at the moment.
As well, sorry, is I've just seen some of the drivers that have made up a lot of positions. You know what? Shane Piggott has been on a charge because up the order, he's made up 14 places. Look at this fight as well, though, between Adam Fox and Fiona Siddons. Fiona's been on a bit of a charge as well herself because she's up 9 places, even with quite a lot of damage to the front of her car. You can see it's missing a front bumper, so she might have got caught up in that incident at Aqua Minerale. Doesn't seem to be slowing her down too much. She's like to finish and finish very well for herself as well. Look at Shane Piggott, though, up in 7th place, up 14 positions as well. I remember last season, if I'm thinking correctly, he was very, very good at this circuit. It seems Imola is just one of the tracks that Shane Piggott is strong at. He's gotten ahead of Ryan Main and looks set to stay there. Coming through Aqua Minerale. Look how much the cars Constantina are up and then powering out Shane Piggott. Very, very strong look at this race he's doing now. Got a little bit of margin, though, before he can catch up to Luke Cooper. So I'd imagine that 7th place is probably the best Shane will be finishing, but still cracking effort to get up 14 places.
It's impressive. It's very, very impressive, especially, like I said, Imola is not necessarily the easiest track to overtake on. So that's one thing I think another thing to consider is you've got to be committed at Imola. And if it doesn't quite work out, I mean, if it doesn't work out, it tends to go very, very wrong. So, again, you've got it a little bit wide there for Shane Piggott. That's going to cost him because Ryan Main is right up there on the gearbox of Piggott. But as well, look behind. Michael Linscombe-Hatfield is also not too far behind. And I wonder, realistically, let's have a quick look from Linscombe-Hatfield's car. He's going to have front row seats to what's going to happen in front between Main and Piggott. And I wonder if he's going to try and scoop up some of the pieces, if there are any to be gained. Are we going to see Ryan Main pull out? No, instead he's actually backing off. What's this going to allow Linscombe-Hatfield going to do? Last of the late breakers doesn't quite manage to do it, though. And in fact, slows himself a little bit down because he's taken a slightly tighter line. So that would have slowed him down a little bit. And you can see that he's just dropped to 10th or so. Yeah. So just something to watch out for there.
I think, though, Michael will be quite happy just to stay in this position because, of course, he's leading the AM race at the moment, currently on what will be the provisional top step of the AM podium. And look behind, Colin Sansom, Simon Robson. Those two might start to race. Look at this, though, down the inside. Great view of Ryan Main sending it into Tosa on Shane Piggott. But Shane fights him on the exit. All the way they will go up into Piratella. The outside line will be afforded to Shane Piggott. Ryan Main will try and fight. No, he doesn't. Slots in behind. So this fight is not over yet. You can see Shane Piggott was very smart just to leave the inside and power his way around the outside. Not necessarily conventional, but he had enough faith in that drive out of the corner, which, to be fair, has been his strongest suit. You can see as well, coming out of Aqua Minerale. Oh, very, very loose. And is that going to be a slowdown or an off track? I'm not entirely sure how iRacing penalises you for running wide. I think there it's just an off track, but into here is the one you need to be really careful of because this will give you a slowdown if you just cut the chicanes that little bit too much. He's gotten away with it there, but very, very scary stuff from Shane Piggott there. You never want to be going too wide through Aqua Minerale.
No, you don't. You have got to be so careful because if it goes wrong, it goes significantly wrong. I think, to be fair, realistically, Shane Piggott definitely got away with that, to be fair. But again, he goes a bit wide. Carbon copy what he did last lap. He can obviously hear us on the broadcast, so I think Ryan Main, this could be the opportunity. He's going to have to make a move. I mean, you may not get another opportunity like this. If he can keep up, then it's absolutely fine. But if not, that's going to fall into Shane Piggott's favour. So I reckon Ryan Main's going to have to try and make the move. I know it's a bit earlier than he would have liked. He would have liked to have done it on the last corner. There we go. He pulls out. Capitalises on the opportunity. It's going to be last of the late breakers going through. Is it going to be a move? Look at Julian Schroeder, Michael Linscombe-Hatfield having a battle behind as well. And Ryan Main is last of the late breakers going into the first chicane. And that is it. So Shane Piggott now up 13 places as opposed to 14.
Yeah, Piggott has a little bit of a run into the Villeneuve chicane, but most likely won't send a move and instead will probably try and set him up into Tosa. Look at how they go through a little bit wide, actually on turn from Shane. So again, loses out and might be under threat from Julian Schroer. Very revitalized Julian, I think it's fair to say, following his first race victory. And that's the thing, that's what I reckon what Julian was missing was just that little confidence boost, because we know he can pull out these performances. It's just about having, I think, the confidence in himself coming into this series. He's a relative newcomer to the BSL fold, obviously brought in by his teammate Arthur Panzer, who's been with us for a few seasons now, but he is performing very admirably, to say the least. Currently up inside the top 10 for yet another very good finish for Spicky Racing. Just having a look at their team performance. Obviously, Douglas Stewart, the only Spicky Racing driver that's not currently going to finish this race, but I think if there was a team championship, they'd be doing very well for themselves, because we often see them up the top. Look at Shane Pickett, though, down the inside. He will go, trying to send it on Ryan Main, and you know what? He's made it work. That was a very, very good overtake, wasn't it? Nice and committed. And actually, that's upset the run from Ryan Main, because look at this. Julian Schroer, the confidence is surging through him, and he's going to go for a move. He sees an opportunity. Why not go for it? Down they will into the two left-handers at the end of the lap. Absolutely sending it on the brakes. And you know what? Is he going to get it stopped in time? He has. Parks it on the exit. Now he could be vulnerable, but I think he's going to get just enough of a slipstream to stay ahead. Ryan Main will most likely pull out and try and go for a move, but then be left with a huge wall of air hitting the front of his MX5. Saying that, though, the speed is definitely there for him. This could be a good chance to challenge down into the first chicane. These will be side by side. It will be, like you say, a battle of the late breakers. Is Julian going to hang it around the outside? No, thinks better of it. Well, if you can get on the power nice and early, this will give him a great run. Look at this, nose to tail through the left-hander and into the Villeneuve chicane. Will he send it or won't he send it? I think a Julian Schroer of last round might not have sent it. And you know what? Actually, he's choosing to have discretion, being the better part of Valor, carrying a lot of speed into the chicane. But look at the run he gets out of the corner. Looks one way, then the other, being forced to go around the outside. If he's brave enough, late enough on the brakes and carrying the momentum, this could be a great chance hard on the power. What a move from Julian Schroer. He's just come on leaps and bounds since he's joined the championship. And that is a pure example of the development of his driving. Because I think the Julian Schroer at the start of the championship wouldn't have done something like that.
No, that was absolutely fantastic. Sending it round the outside. Great stuff indeed. You can tell Ryan Main, he wanted to have a look as he went through. I think that was Piratella, the left-hander. He sent it in there, really drove the car in. Couldn't quite make it stick, though. I thought that was going to be a little bit wide there from Julian Schroer, but manages to compose himself and managed to keep the car all in check. Again, that was just fantastic stuff. Really enjoyable to watch. I think that's one of the best moves of the season. Genuinely, that was absolutely amazing. As he just needs to make sure, though, he keeps the composure now. That was a little bit too wide. I think he'll get away with it, though. The person next up, 1.2 seconds ahead up the road, is Shane Piggott. But what he's got to do is instead focus on what's going on behind him. Focus on Ryan Main, because the gap is half a second. He needs that to be half a second as he gets, well, he needs to be as big as possible as he gets now going onto the main straight, because that half a second, have a look at that 0.4 of a second, provided that Main gets a good exit, that will come down. That will be 2 or 1/10 of a second by the time they get into turn 1. This is the last lap as well, by the way. 8 seconds to go and then we're done. Jason Cooper is on the final lap, as well as all of these drivers here. So this is it. It is now or never for the likes of Ryan Main, Michael Linscombe-Hatfield and Colin Sampson, let's not forget, just behind.
Yeah, but having a look as well at the close fight between Simon Robson and Glenn Humberston, you can see that gap coming down and down and down. The lap before, Glenn Humberston was able to make the move, but now on the final lap, it's Simon Robson's turn to have a fight back, and this is for the final place on the AM podium. Look at Simon Robson, he sends it into the corner, a little bit slow on the exit, and oh my word, Glenn Humberston is going to try and fight a way through. Can't do it. Simon Robson putting his car in probably the most awkward spot for Glenn to try and find a way through, but he's entitled to do that. He's not defending anything too egregiously, to be fair, but he's forced to give a wide line, and that could hamper him into Tosa. So we'll see now Glenn Humberston look for a move around the outside. Is he going to do what we saw Julian Schroer pull off? No, I don't think he can. And actually, in saying that, Julian Schroer has suddenly dropped back. Ryan Main's gotten ahead now into 8th place.
Indeed, I wonder what's happened here. Julian Schroer is actually being pressured now by Michael Linscombe-Hatfield, so this is definitely not over. It's actually got a fair old chunk of time to go. I mean, at this moment, Ryan Main's just checked out. He's gone, you guys crack on. I'm just going to sit here and and race my own race, but he goes a little bit wide onto the exit as he goes through. So this is going to possibly come really, really down to the wire. Going back actually to the leader, Jason Cooper, he's going to take the first win a little bit wide, but manages to keep it there. Jason Cooper, 200 yards to go, and he'll be taking race 1 victory, something that we have said a fair few times now, but there it is, race 1 victory for Jason Cooper. Arthur Pandel in P2 and then Lee Holmes in P3. But what is happening down a little bit further, this train here is just non-stop, and so is Simon Robson and then Glenn Humberstone. These two have been battling for the last final few laps. It's just absolute madness. Julian Schroer's actually now just got past Ryan Main again. Oh my word, and so is Michael Linscombe-Hatfield. Where on earth has he come from? All of a sudden, he's just gone from P10 or P11 up to P9.
Hopefully we can have a little bit of a replay of what on earth happened there on the final lap. Having a look as well, Glenn Humberstone, I think, will finish ahead of Simon Robson. So the AM podium will be settled with Linscombe-Hatfield, Sansom and Humberstone, but it is close with Simon Robson right there. I'll tell you what, that was a great fight all the way through this mid-pack, this battle between the AMs and the Pro-Ams there from, well, 8th all the way down into, I think, well, 11th, 12th place was great. And that was Julian Schroer earlier on in the lap, making a mistake into the Villeneuve chicane. And that was how Ryan Main got past. But we know for a fact that Julian Schroer was able to have the last lap and get past all of these 4 cars, all of these 3 cars that he's currently battling with. You can see this time was, well, a bit of a fight between himself and Linscombe-Hatfield, able to hold the line around the outside into Pilatella. And then we'll just be able to see, I think. Shall we follow this as they come through? Maybe have a quick spin of the wheel, perhaps, before they come up to the final couple of corners, because I think that was where all of the action happens. You can see it on the screen. Let's give it a quick spin and find out who will be on a reverse grid pole position. What number will be drawn? Is it another full reverse grid? No, it's not. It's only a 14. So that will benefit some of the drivers finishing higher up. In fact, actually, I'll hold my tongue because I think I've seen who is on reverse grid pole position. Let's get away with the wheel and see the cars now into these final couple of corners, into the 2 Rivazzas. Is there a mistake perhaps from Ryan Main? Does he take it a little bit too hot into the corner?
Yeah, he does.
Oh yes, very, very hot. Nearly loses complete control of the car. You can see he actually does have to cut across the grass, across the track, and that allows Julian Schroer on the final corner take that position and finish up in 8th position. Cracking drive from himself. Linscombe-Hatfield as well, finishing in the top 10. Ryan Main will be disappointed with that mistake at the end that cost him a couple of places, but still, he was just about able to finish ahead of Colin Sanson. Very, very thin margins, but what a race nonetheless.
Absolutely great racing, as we normally see with everyone. Again, can't ask for more than that. Really can't ask for more than that. But what we'll do, once we, before we get used to, before we run through into race 2, let us have a quick look at the results here for the overall standings and overall race results for the race 1. Jason Cooper taking the race win by 3.8 seconds over Arthur Pandel. Lee Holmes in P3 with Andy McEwen rounding out P4. And just behind is Sam Smith in P5. Luke Cooper 6th with Shane Pickett in 7th, Julian Schroer in 8th, Michael Linscombe-Hatfield in 9th with Ryan Main in P10. Colin Sampson P11, Glenn Humberstone in P12 with Simon Robson P13 and Craig McDonald in 14th. Fiona Siddons in the top 15, Rob Noble in 16th with James Neve 17th and Adam Fox in P18. Nick Postons P19, Tom Griffiths in 20th, Liam Stimpson in 21st, James Clark 22nd. Actually, I think realistically James Clark wasn't able to stay on the lead lap. So you have James Clark, Nick Clibbins, Douglas Stewart, Mark Oliver, Craig Cockrell, and that is... trying to think who is at the very bottom. Bear with me, and that is Pino Krajeveld. Unfortunately, unable to finish on the lead laps. They won't be scoring points, but that does mean Craig McDonald, I believe, is on the pole position. He's on pole position for race 2, Ed.
Yeah, that does. So we will be seeing Craig McDonald's Rapid Motorsport MX5 on the front row, leading the field. Fiona Siddons, I think she'll be gutted to miss out on a reverse grid pole position, but she did do very well to bring home her battered and bruised MX5 through in 15th place. She will have, of course, Jason Cooper just in front of her on the run into the first quarter. So what can Jason do? Can he make it 2 race victories from 2 races? I think previous form might suggest so, but we've still got, of course, the nature of the race to come. Anything can happen in these BSR Tegiwa MX5 Trophy reverse grid races. Can't see anyone coming in to have a chat with us in the interview waiting room though, Dan. So let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have all of the action here from the second race of the evening at Imola. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Absolute Sim Racing. We've got the second race just about to get underway. Here is 14 reverse grid that we'll see. I believe Craig McDonald start from pole position. What can he do in his Rapid Motorsport MX5 and try and take something good from this evening? He looked all right in the races, to be fair. It's just about being able to really sort of command at the start of the race and try and build a margin, because you know Jason Cooper, winner of the first race, will be hot on your heels, because I'll tell you what, he can make a lot of pace through the field fairly quickly. And on a track such as Imola, it's pretty easy to make up a few places, isn't it?
I do apologise. I've actually, it would help if my mic was unmuted, wasn't it? So I do apologise to everyone on the stream for hearing that silence. As Ed, as following on from what Ed just said there, you've got, self-preservation, I think, is key. So, yes, again, the reverse grid will obviously throw up some excitement, which is fantastic, exactly what we want to see. But at the same time, from a driver's perspective, you've got to make sure that you're careful. You've got to make sure that you get through the first lap, and then afterwards, then you can take stock, then you can start applying and starting to push. In the first race, we saw Andy McEwen, go from 8th down to up into 4th, almost within the first lap, within the first couple of laps. I mean, that's great at the first race, but as soon as you start going through with these reverse grids, then you've got to be a little bit more careful.
Yeah, you can see as well, the day is progressing here. The sun is getting a little bit lower. Obviously, that means the track temperature gets a bit cooler as well, so that obviously has a knock-on effect of the times getting a little bit quicker. And speaking of getting quicker, we quickly move on into the race. So we'll be able to hopefully bring up the grid order for this second race of the evening. Hopefully it all works and comes up very, very soon. And here we are, Craig McDonald, pole position ahead of Simon Robson, with Glenn Humberston, Colin Sanson, Brian Main, Linscombe Hatfield, Julian Schroer, Shane Piggott, Luke Cooper, and Sam Smith completing your top 10, with Andy McEwen 11th, Lee Holmes 12th. 13th place then should see Arthur Panzel ahead of Jason Cooper, with Fiona Scissors down in 15th. Robert Noble, James Neve, Adam Fox, Nick Postins, and Tom Griffiths complete your top 20, with Liam Simpson 21st, James Clark 22nd, Nick Clibbins, Douglas Stewart, Mark Oliver, and Craig Cockrell round out the 26 strong grid for this second race of the evening. But I'm noticing actually Craig McDonald and Simon Robson haven't taken up to the grid, so it will be Glenn Humberston who effectively gets pole position, because I think these two are serving pit lane starts for races for the second race. So that means Glenn Humberston, in eventuality, will be on the pole position spot, even if he's not starting on the grid position that you'd expect pole position to be. You can see that Colin Sampson did get a very strong start off of the line. Ryan Main and Linscombe Hatfield in the background as well. Look out for these two. Wheel to wheel into the first corner, battle for the lead. There's a bit of contact in the background. I don't think anyone's been too majorly hampered by that. There's Julian Schroer coming up through the field with Andy McEwen right behind. Another cracking start from Andy McEwen, up 6 places into the first corner. I don't know to see maybe what his start was like off of the line, because that must have been an absolutely monumental getaway off the line. And look at that, very wide up in front. Rejoining almost calamitously Glenn Humberston. In fact, as I say that, it was calamitous, because he hit Michael Linscombe Hatfield, I think. As Andy McEwen on cold tyres nearly loops the thing.
Someone just got spun around. James Neve just got spun around there as well, just in the background. So, it's all got a bit wrong.
First lap is very, very busy, I think, to say the least. Andy McEwen already in the podium places. Jason Cooper already up into 4th. What a start for these drivers in the background as well. The drivers just trying to slide it right the way through. I think Brian Mains had a moment and has dropped back several places as well. It's all kicking off, but it's all allowed Julian Schroer into the lead of the race.
Indeed, Julian Schroer just knuckling down and cracking on. Great stuff indeed. But look at that. P3, Andy McEwen. P4, Jason Cooper. Let's see how that goes through the rest of this race. 2 by 2 as they go through from Nick Poston, Fiona Siddons, Glenn Humberstone and James Clark as they go into the last chicane for the first time. And they all slot in the single file. Fiona Siddons losing out on a position to, I believe, to Nick Poston. And that is also going to allow... Actually, I don't think... No, that's... I'm maybe getting a little bit confused here. Anyways, James Clark's going to try and go round up the inside. Lee Holmes is going to have a look as well as they go through. This is going to be... Again, 3 cars don't quite fit into one space. They all manage to find a bit of the track. And that is going to be James Clark trying to get on the outside of Glenn Humberstone, but Lee Holmes... Oh, no, there's contact. That's what I was talking about. 2 cars don't fit into one space. And that is unfortunately it. What is happening here? Jason Cooper's pushing Andy McEwen along. I wonder if this is going to be a thing happening. Julian Schroer has disappeared off into the distance, but Andy McEwen's going to get helped along up into P3. Oh, just slots in front of Colin Sampson. Oh, I imagine Sansom will need a new race suit after that. Wowzers, that was close.
Well, at least Andy McEwen as well. I thought that was going to take both of them out of the race. And Jason Cooper, I think he was glad that there was no contact because that could have had a knock-on effect of him getting caught up in all of the dramas as well. Speaking of dramas, there is contact between Colin Sanson, but this time it's between himself and Sam Smith. Sam Smith, after that point, has then been slow off of the exit, and Luke Cooper is trying to propel himself up into 4th position, but it's going to get hung out to dry on the exit. And maybe be vulnerable from a charge of Arthur Panslow, I believe, is trying to come through there. You can see on your screens now the 222 having to pop in behind into Piratella. Jason Cooper has actually just gotten ahead of Andy McEwen as well. I wonder where that move got done.
Well, I think having a look at it, to be fair, probably wasn't too far away. I'm just trying to see if I can get a replay on it. Here it is. Here is the replay. We're going to have a look at a couple of replays at the start as well. So side by side coming through. I believe this is Piratella, correct me if I'm wrong, Ed. But just lost up the inside. Must have had a better run coming out of the hairpin. It does go a little bit wide, but manages to keep it all in check. Let's just have a quick look. Actually, do you know what? What's happening down here? Because, whoa, Sam Smith is having a good old battle with Nick Postons. And unfortunately has lost out on said position with Nick Poston. So not something that Andy McEwen just got up ahead of Jason. No, Julian Schroer's had an off. Julian Schroer's gone off somewhere. I wonder if he had an off track. And he had a slowdown because that's promoted Jason Cooper up into 1st place and Andy McEwen into P2. But yeah, Julian Schroer has now dropped down 2 positions. So a costly mistake there on the start of the first few laps, which is really going to cost him because look at the gap between himself and Andy McEwen. It's about 1.4, but it's only 6 between Luke Cooper behind, and he's going slow. Why is he going so slow? I really don't know what's going on.
There must be a slowdown. There must be something going on there, and he wasn't able to clear it in time for the 2 Ravazzas. Hopefully a replay will tell all.
There we go.
Very, very hard over the chicanes there and right off the exit. Definite slowdown there from Julian Schroer. Because it's on the 2nd lap, they don't have a representative time delta to match the slowdown penalty off of. So it just hands him a massive, massive amount of time that he has to give back. And he has to drive so slow to actually allow that time to trickle down. So that's seen him drop all the way back from what was set to be an amazing result. He's all the way down in 8th position. So a massive, massive loss. First down to 8th from Julian Schroer, just through one little misjudgment, just trying to take that little bit too much momentum into Variante Alta, and that has been what's cost him. Look at Lee Holmes, though, in a good fight between himself and the 777 of Douglas Stewart. We've got a replay here, though, of, I believe, Nick Clibbins. And does he just get a little bit too much over the curb? Yes, he does. Spins it all the way around through the Villeneuve chicane. Tell you what, the cars behind him, a very, very good job not to have a collision with him there.
Yeah, they did indeed, absolutely. Just tried to get a replay of Shane Piggott here, so this was a little bit late down the line. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I think we're going to go back. Glenn Humberstone's actually had a bit of an off as well, so let's see what happened here. This is only about a lap or so ago, and then we're going to go back to your live racing, because it is close between Jason Cooper.
Mirror image of what we just saw Shane Piggott do. Just too much throttle, I think, too soon. Oh my word, we come back to live pictures right away with action. Sam Smith and Julian Schroer wheel to wheel, and look at this. Douglas Stewart is actually, and that's not Douglas Stewart, sorry, that's Lee Holmes trying to take all of them, and he does. Cracking stuff there from Lee Holmes. And Sam Smith actually with a bit of damage to the front of the car. You can see, I think that's the front left-hand side with a bit of a bump. I think it's fair to say a bit is maybe being a bit generous. That will, of course, hamper his straight line speed. Maybe not as much as we've seen happen to other drivers this race, but still harm him nonetheless, allowing, of course, Douglas Stewart, the 777, to pass by nice and easily. Up 16 places since the start of the race is Douglas, so a cracking effort from him. Andy McEwen is not letting Jason Cooper get away with this, and that tells me either Slipstream is really strong, or maybe Andy McEwen's pace has been stinted a little bit by the traffic in qualifying, and now we're starting to see the true pace of Andy McEwen, and it is basically on par with Jason.
Well, this is, something you've got to watch out for. I wonder how it's going to fare. Consistency is always key here. You've got to be conscious. I think that's just been an absolute send around the outside. It has been Sam Smith on Nick Poston. So these guys are still continuing their battling, and a little bit further down as well as we go through. This is between Simon Robson and James Clark. Oh, going to go side by side. That was close. James Clark, wowzers, kept it committed around the outside. And I think, Simon Robinson's actually going to possibly lose out on a position to Craig McDonald. I think he might. No, he's going to be able to keep it just about in check. No, he doesn't, because look at that. Craig McDonald is going to try and go the long way round as they go through up the hill. Going into the midsection of the lap, they're going to go side by side. Who is going to come out on top? Do you know what? I think it might even be... Oof, wow. Craig McDonald shuts the door on Simon Robson. Absolutely perfectly positioned. Really, really good stuff. And to be fair, Simon Robson, we didn't have anything to go with, did he? He couldn't do anything at that point. So... fair play indeed. That was a cracking move. Jason Cooper's just pulled away a little bit from Andy McEwen. You see the gap was about 0.3 of a second. It's now gone up to around about 0.4. But as soon as they get onto the straight, as long as Andy McEwen can keep that pace there and keep within that half a second window, that's going to then come down. Look at that. So it's half a second at the moment. It's probably going to go into about 0.3 of a second. So halfway to go. A small little mistake possibly from Jason Cooper. And then Andy McEwen's right back on the tail.
Yeah, Andy doesn't seem to be as strong as Jason through those final two revatsas, and I think that is where Jason really makes up a lot of his time. You can see, though, you are right, that gap will come down to about 0.3 of a second before they get onto the brakes into Variante Tamburello. First corner. Look at how much curb Jason is willing to take there on both the entry and the exit, going through both of those two corners, taking a lot of speed and carrying, of course, the momentum through. Andy McEwen will, of course, try and close it and make it close. Just see, though, that Jason has a really nice setup of the car. Andy McEwen strong, though, through the Villeneuve chicane. So we're seeing drivers making out times in different points. I think Andy's main focus is just about staying close enough to, like you say, capitalise if a mistake will come through from Jason Cooper. But it's not very often we see Jason make those sorts of errors. So I think only time will tell before he'll truly know what's going to happen in this race. Battle for third place, though, is hotting up between Luke Cooper and Arthur Panzel up at the front of the field. Arthur's having a very good race, to be fair to him, up 10 places. Adam Fox, oh my word, what a drive from the Pro-Am, man, up 13 positions as well. So several drivers having very good efforts, but there's no driver that's moved as many positions as Douglas Stewart, the 777, seeing himself in 8th place, up 16 places. So a brilliant effort from him.
Yeah, great positioning as well. Great battling we're seeing all the way up and down. What's Julian Schroeder going to be? He's actually trying to make some positions. You know what? He's not. He's going to lose out to Douglas Stewart now. So
17 places gained.
Yeah, exactly. So Douglas Stewart, as you say, up 17 positions. Julian Schroeder, definitely not the race that he would have wanted. Started off so promising at the start, and unfortunately he's just gone downhill from that first instant, that first slowdown coming out of the last chicane. It's a tricky one. It's a track that dedicates so much attention. You need so much attention. If it's, just momentum flowing, this track is a very, very flowing flowing set of corners. If it doesn't go, if it can cascade and it can snowball quite quickly. So you've got to be careful. You've got to be, almost, I think, to be fair, if I was Julian Schroeder, I would just run the race. If you've got the next 4 minutes, just completely forget about this race. Just move on. It's no point dwelling on it. It's whatever's happened has happened. Just put it behind. You've got 2 more races to go. Just make those ones count. That's the key thing there. Don't worry about what's going to happen a little bit further down or what's happening trying to plan the next race. Don't worry about it until it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be able to see how, of course, the next 2 races will go Julian Schroeder's way, but we've still got this one to go, and we've still got James Clark battling now with Craig McDonald. Craig, who had to start this race from the pit lane, but to be fair to him, it says he's down 9 places, but actually, in effect, he's more like up about 15, isn't he? Because he had to start way, way from the back. So a good effort from a Rapid Motorsport driver. Very distinctive liveries that these drivers run. Very easy to spot them, of course, if they're having a good battle, or maybe sometimes if they're having a little bit of strife. You can always pick them out in a crowd. Look as well, though, the two Gaton Motorsport cars, they're just trying to close in, seeing if they can edge their way into this fight. If perhaps James Clark decides to get a little bit racy and get into that top 10. Oh, actually, I think we've just seen Lee Holmes getting ahead of Adam Fox now for 5th place.
Let's see if we can get a replay of that. I believe that was because Adam Fox had a bit of an off. Here we go here. Oh, carbon copy of what we saw in race 1. Manages to keep it all in check, though. And that would be why Lee Holmes then went, thank you very much, went up the inside, and that's it done and dusted. What Craig McDonald and James Clark having a good old battle there as well, still continuing.
James just gotten ahead now, actually. We just missed that as well. We go for one replay, and all of a sudden another bit of action happens.
I know, it's all just kicking off. Let's have a look here. I imagine it's just last of the late breakers again. To be fair, Craig McDonald had nowhere to go. You can't really push as well. If you're on the outside, well, you have to concede, because as long as James Clark just lets off the brakes, carries that momentum through the midsection, well, you can't do anything at that point. Well, that's about as wide as you can get apart from each other, don't they? Teammates don't want to be near each other at this moment in time. Julian Schroer, I think, is going to be trying to have a look up the inside of Douglas Stewart. You just see in the timing tower, it's clicked over, so Julian Schroer has the advantage. And there we go, Julian Schroer going back up into P7. So making up a little bit more positions here. What has happened to Sam Smith? Sam Smith has had a bit of an off, and that's going to cost him time all the way down. He's lost 2 positions because of that, so a costly mistake there.
Yeah, definitely. That's cost him quite a couple of positions. Allowed, of course, Simon Robson and Nick Clibbins to go through. Having a look as well towards the front of the field, Jason Cooper is far and away the fastest driver out on the circuit, building that advantage as well to Andy McEwen, which is now over a second. Luke Cooper, though, closing in on Arthur Panzel. This could be a good little race, but look at this, actually. We're going to see this move of Simon Robson, who just got a little bit loose and wide coming through the Villeneuve chicane, and all of a sudden Nick Clibbins is trying to go for it, gets a good run out of the Tosa hairpin, and then they will be trying to fight each other into Pilatella, but I think it will favour there's the Simtech Racing driver who will get through and take 12th position for the moment. Simon Robson just didn't really have an answer. As soon as he was held to that tight line and didn't get on the power nice and early through Tosa, he was just a sitting duck all the way up the hill into Piratella. Will he try and fight through on the exit of Aqua Minerale? Again, not really got the best of runs. So I think let's go back to the higher end of the field and see what Luke Cooper can do in trying to close in on Arthur Panzel.
Well, I think it's there or thereabouts. It just needs that one. It just needs to push that little bit more. It's trying to find. The problem is, again, when you're getting to this sort of group here, when you're getting to these sort of stakes in terms of how close everyone is, you just need to start pushing that a little bit more. Trying to find that extra 1 or 2% is so difficult. Luke Cooper only takes the first half of the straight is just maintaining. Then they start catching up. Is Luke Cooper going to make a move? Arthur Panel just goes to a sort of midpoint just to try and cut off. Nothing there from Luke Cooper at the moment. It's going to have to be now or never. The problem is, like I said, where is that going to be? Because Arthur Panzel, we know, is not a slow driver by any stretch of the imagination. So realistically, Luke Cooper, you could see, darts out a little bit there, trying to find a move, trying to upset Arthur Panzel. But at the moment, the 222, not budging an inch.
Yeah, look at this. Luke Cooper then looks to the outside, trying to find a way through. Does he go for a late apex, get a better drive? Yes, he does. Is that going to help him all the way up the hill into Piratella? You can see that time delta coming down. The inside line is being covered off by Panzel. They will go side by side into Piratella. Luke Cooper forced to go around the outside. Is there a couple who's onto the grass? No, but that actually hampers him on the way through. That was a good position of the car, to be fair, from Arthur Panzel. Put it in the right spot to hamper Luke Cooper on the exit. Side by side again into Aqua Minerale. Luke Cooper trying to put Panzel off his stride. Nicely over the curves on the inside. Opens up the corner for him, and again he gets a good run into the next corner, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to send it into Variante Alta. So yes, he'll slot behind from now. You can see how much Panzer is trying to fight the car through on his controller, no less. He's doing a good job, to be fair to him, and I think now that run is helping out to no end. So as long as there's no dramas through the final couple of corners, He should be able to hold on to that podium finish. Speaking of the final couple of corners, Jason Cooper has come out with the last one and will come up to the line, see the checkered flag, and take his second race victory from 2 races here at Imola. Again, another brilliant drive from Jason Cooper, and depending on the race, on the reverse grid result, he could be finding another one coming his way as well. Look at this, though. Drag race up to the line, nearly being pushed across his other Panzer, but he does take 3rd place. Good job between himself and Luke Cooper. Good clean racing, trying to fight for the podium. Douglas Stewart finishes just behind Julian Schroer, 7th and 8th there for Sabiki Racing. To be fair, all 3 Sabiki Racing drivers in top 10. Good effort from the team there.
Absolutely. Yep. That's what you want. Consistent points finishes, especially with the entire team. Really, really good stuff. So I think realistically they're going to be happy with that. I am absolutely sure. Find a few cars coming across the line, but let us not delay. And instead, let us go through and make sure we'll see who is on pole position for race 3 as we're going to spin the wheel once again for the 3rd race. So let us spin, see what it's going to be. What do we reckon? Place your bets, everyone. Place your bets, place your bets, place your bets. Oh, a top 30, which
effectively full, isn't it?
Yeah. It was going to happen, wasn't it? It was going to happen.
So 30 reverse grid, which is, for all intents and purposes, a full reverse. This is going to be a cracking race. A lot of work for Jason Cooper to do, but that depends, of course, on how many drivers finished that race and are eligible for the reverse grid pole position. To count as finishing, you need to finish no more than 1 lap down. If you finish 1 lap down, you're still there. Any more, like finishing 2 laps down, that's it. No points scored, not eligible for the reverse grid. So enough dillying and dallying. Hopefully all of the drivers have come across the line. Of course, it is a 2-minute lap time, so you might have to wait a little while. And then we can, of course, talk you through the finishing order for this next race. I think we're just waiting for Ryan Main to come across the line, greet the checker flag, which he does, and I think blows his engine in the process. I think that sums out how much he was enjoying that, where as soon as he comes across the line, knows it's done, bam, engine goes, done with it, bring it into the pits. I think that was a race maybe Ryan Main will be hoping better of, but depending on where he comes, that could be still a reverse grid pole position, so he might be feeling a little bit better. Let's run through the results, though. Jason Cooper, who takes his 2nd race victory of the night, ahead of Andy McEwen, who takes his first podium of the night there in 2nd place, and also his first Pro-Am class victory as well. Arthur Panzel finishing in 3rd, ahead of Luke Cooper, Lee Holmes, Adam Fox, Julian Schroer, Douglas Stewart, Nick Posters, and James Clark in 10th position. Then we come down 11th, Craig McDonald, Nick Clibbins, Simon Robson, Sam Smith, Mark Oliver, Tom Griffiths, James Neve, and Liam Stimpson. You can see down in 18th position. Then we'll see 19th, which should be, if my memory's right, Fiona Siddons, which it is. Then Ryan Main, who finishes in 20th place. Glenn Humberston scores points, will be on the front row in what was 21st position, will become 2nd position, because pole position will go to Shane Piggott. And Shane, he's shown he was a very quick peddler in that first race. Can he carry that form through into the 3rd? He could be a very good shout for this next race. Colin Sansom there, 23rd, not scoring any points, along with Robert Noble, Linscombe Hatfield, and Craig Cockrell, who all unfortunately are classified as non-finishers for this 2nd race. And no drivers coming in to have a chat with us, but I think, Dan, that gives us enough time to move over into the next session and, well, look forward to what is going to be a cracking 3rd race of the evening. Tell you what, the race is absolutely fly by, but you still want to stay tuned to Absolute Sim Racing because there's more action still to come. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Absolute Sim Racing. The third race is soon to be underway here at Imola in the BSR Tegiwa MX5 trophy. And Dan, what a race we've got. Obviously, the prospect of a full reverse grid. And, well, we've seen a dominant performance really across both of the two races so far this evening from Jason Cooper. Do you think he can snatch another win?
Well, I think realistically, we say this every single time, and you know what? I don't think this one does. I'm not going to say anything for this one. I really am not, because, I mean, we know that anything can happen in these races, and that is, I think, that's all that needs to be said about that. Jason Cooper's got the pace, Annie McEwen has got also the pace as well to potentially snatch a win. I think there's actually quite a few people that have got positions to have a win here. Obviously, you know, looking through up and down the field as well. One of the people that we have seen, Shane Piggott. Let's not count him out. He's had some very good pace and has got some very good pace for us today. Well, I mean, there's 4 or 5 people that have a chance at this reverse grid, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Shane Piggott will be starting right at the front of the field on pole position. And the pace that he showed in that first race was brilliant. He had a meteoric rise up through the field. So don't count him out of a good result as well. If he can get through nice and quickly at the head, while maybe, for example, Jason Cooper gets stuck in a bit of traffic, this could be Shane Piggott's race to win. You never know what can happen. As the warm-up session is just about done, the drivers have gotten acclimatized to the track conditions, and now we will be getting started very shortly with all of the racing here on the third race at Imola. You can see that the grid has been formed. Shane Piggott on pole position with Glenn Humberston alongside him, making up the front row with Ryan Main third, Fiona Siddons fourth. Liam Stimson will start fifth with James Neve for company on the third row ahead of Tom Griffiths, Mark Oliver, Sam Smith and Simon Robson, who completes your top 10. With a sixth row consisting of Nick Clemens 11th and Craig McDonald in 12th. 13th, we'll see James Clark ahead of Nick Postons, Douglas Stewart, Julian Schroer, Adam Fox, Lee Holmes, Luke Cooper and Arthur Pansel in 20th. And McEwen will start 21st ahead of Jason Cooper with Colin Sanson and Michael Linscombe Hatfield rounding out the field. And we've lost a few drivers, but of course that doesn't make the racing any less exciting. In fact, all the drivers have already gotten onto the grid nice and early, so the racing is underway. And what a start from Shane Piggott. Glenn Humberston really bogging down off of the line, allowing Glenn Humberston and Fiona Siddons through into the first corner, as well as James Neve. Look out from him down the inside. He'll try and send it on the Maltese logistics car of Fiona Siddons. Has he been able to the stick? No, he hasn't, but I'll tell you what, Liam Stimson did. So a good effort there from Liam Stimson, already up into third place. In the background, has there been any major dramas? Well, I can see that and Jason Cooper are still going, so their prospects are still alive in this race. In fact, to be fair, I think most, if not all of the field, actually got through there in relative ease. As I say that, Craig McDonald very loose, wasn't he, coming out of that last corner? Good effort though, wasn't it, to keep his car on the straight and narrow, just a little bit loose. And again, there's another car loose and spinning its way all the way around. Who's that? That's the 23, I think, the 023 was that of Mark Oliver. Yes, it was.
So, I mean, to be fair, again, cold tyres, you've got to be careful with these cold tyres. You know, these cars, well, they don't have all that much power. They've still got enough to be able to break traction, especially with this new tyre model. 3 wide as they're going ahead. What on earth was going on there? That was Fiona Siddons, James Neve, and Sam Smith, I believe. So they're going to go through wide, going through on the first lap. That's very brave indeed, by any stretch of the imagination. And as they go through, I think possibly even Glenn Humberstone might have a quick look, or so Fiona Siddons may lose out on one position, possibly even 2 as they go through. Or Fiona Siddons gets left hung out to dry from Glenn Humberstone, but Craig McDonald tries to go on the outside. Whoa, that was close. That was very close indeed. Everyone managing to keep all in check, though. That's the main thing. Everyone's still managing to go. But just a gaggle of cars down here. Fiona Siddons going to try and cover off the inside, which is absolutely what you're supposed to do.
There's a slowdown, actually, for one of the cars. I'm not sure who that is, but there's definitely a Rapid Motorsport car going very slowly through there. And there's contact in the background. Is Jason Cooper caught up in that? I think he's just been able to get through that, you know. As you can see, Andy McEwen making his way through. Then we have Nick Postons. And then you can see the bright day glow, sort of greeny yellow roll cage of the Swift Cooper Esports car that we've come to associate with Jason. So Jason just about got through that relatively unscathed. Look at this, though. 4-5 cars battling for position down into Tamburello for the second time of asking in this third race. A lot of curb there being taken by Douglas Stewart. Could leave him vulnerable as James Clark is looking for a run into the Villeneuve chicane. Immediately, the defensive line has been taken, but is actually a line where is he taking a slowdown? Yes, it is. Oh, my word. All the drivers checking up to avoid it. Andy McEwen nearly coming to blows with Arthur Panzel, but they go side by side through the Villeneuve chicane and just about settle their differences without making contact. What a little bit of drama there, though, for the pair of them. Andy McEwen forced to go around the outside, doesn't want to come across the nose. And there's a slow car on the exit, I think. Is that Fiona Sins? Yes, it is. Oh, dear. Fiona, she nearly got caught up in a big incident, as well as all of the cars now battle 3 abreast into Piratella. This could end in tears. Andy McEwen, I think, does the smarter option, breaks a little bit earlier. And is he going to try and take all of them on the exit? You know what, this could work in his favour, but no, Fiona Sins, oh, just about comes across the nose of Andy. That was very, very scary. Andy McEwen, I think, was a little bit scared and had to, well, I wouldn't blame him for it, and braking a little bit earlier. Both of those two cars, Fiona Sins and Arthur Panzel, overshoot into the Aqua Minerale section. Nick Postins has got through on Andy McEwen. It's all happening at once, you know, and this has allowed Jason Cooper to close back in behind Andy McEwen. Gap now half a second between the pair of them. Meanwhile, up in front, look who's checked out at the top of the standings. Shane Piggott. What a brilliant effort he's been putting out there, right ahead of all the rest.
Well, I think, look at that. You can't really complain, can you? To be fair, because you've got a 2-second gap to Liam Stimpson. Unfortunately, Liam Stimpson's not going to be looking pretty, because right behind is Tom Griffiths. Is going to have a bit of a look. I mean, realistically, this is going to be, oh, it's a bit of a bump. That's a bit of a bump from Tom Griffiths on the rear of Liam Stimpson's car, but it's going to be to no avail, though, for Liam Stimpson, because there is going to be a possible position loss. It's going to be last of the late breakers going into the first chicane. Who is it going to be? 2 by 2 as well. You see Sam Smith and Ryan May going door to door as well. Side by side still through turns. Oh, Tom Griffiths managing to stay ahead. Liam Stimpson just about keeps it all in check, but he's going to lose a position to Ryan May and possibly James Neve as well. But I wonder who's that there behind. Is that Craig McDonald? Let's have a look. No, it's James Neve that's had a look up the inside, so he's now got past Ryan May. Great stuff indeed. So yes, Liam Stimpson has lost a position, manages to keep it all in check though, still maintaining a P4 at this moment in time. Bear in mind, everyone, this is the battle for P2. At the moment, Shane Piggott's pulled another 0.3 of a gap. All these guys are battling here, and I'm sure Shane Piggott could not care less what these guys do if they start battling, because it's just going to work in his favour. Have a look, though. Look at the order. Andy McEwen in P12, Jason Cooper in P13. Only a tenth or so separate between them. 10 minutes to go. Keep an eye out for those two moving up the order. They're both very, very quick. Are they going to catch up to Shane Piggott? That's the tricky question, because they've got a good 6 or 7 seconds. That's not a lot of time to make up in the 5 or 6 laps left of this race.
Yeah, those two are definitely ones to watch on their rise up through the field. Of course, 10 minutes, about maybe more 9 minutes to go in this race. So what can they do? What can James Neve do, more importantly, at this present moment in time? Because look at how close he is to the rear bumper of Liam Stimpson. They will go side by side down into a couple of Ravazzas. Really late on the brakes there from the number 3. Maybe overshooting just a tad, but again, they're going side by side, and they still are holding each other up a treat if you are, of course, Sam Smith and Tom Griffiths, because that's allowing these two just to clear away from this fight. And James Neve, by having that shallow line, been absolutely hung out to dry. And look who's gone through. Ryan Main has a relatively easy position to make up, and you know what, because of that excellent drive, he might be able to take Liam Stimpson as well. You know what, he's down the inside, he's probably going to be clear into the braking zone, goes back onto a slightly more conventional racing line as he's not being squeezed too hard. Whoa, what a send around the outside though. A little bit of a twitch from the number 3 of Liam Stimpson, goes through back up into 4th place. James Neve as well follows him through. It was just, I think, a little bit too much overspeed from the extra slipstream speed that he took into the Tamburello section, and that really held up Ryan Main. But look in the background, they're still battling hard and fair. I think is fair for the moment, shall we say. We all know that sometimes things can get a little bit too overexcitable maybe for some of the drivers, but they're keeping it Nice and clean for the moment. Have a look as well. Drivers making their way up through the field. I was about to touch on this. Jason Cooper has gotten ahead of Andy McEwen. This is how he did it. Sending it down the inside. Oh, nearly coming to blows, though, with, I think that was one of the Rapid Motorsport cars. And look, they fight it back from Andy McEwen. Credit to him, trying to get through. Didn't work out. That was actually Nick Postens that really came to blows. And Nick Postens actually been able to make his way past not only Nick Clibbins, but also Adam Fox. So good battling down here. But I'll tell you what, Jason Cooper and Andy McEwen, I think they'd rather they get through this pack sooner rather than later, because they are losing a little bit of touch to obviously to Shane Piggott and Tom Griffiths up at the front of the field. I doubt a podium, I mean, it's surprising to say, but I doubt a podium finish could be on the cards for these drivers at this rate, because again, drivers in front racing hard, but defending very well as another point to make, isn't it? Because look at this, Jason Cooper, he's trying to find a way through, but he just can't.
Well, this is the thing, this is the age-old problem with tracks such as these in terms of overtaking to a certain degree, because everyone's got a slipstream. If you've got a slipstream with a person in front, well, it's difficult to be able to maintain that momentum. I think the person that's going to lose out here could very well be Nick Clibbins, and I wonder, is Jason Cooper going to try and do the double? Is he going to try and make it up to P10? James Never's actually just got ahead of Liam Stimson that we can see on the time and out on the left-hand side. Jason Cooper pushing Adam Fox along, but look at Andy McEwen behind as well. He's pushing Jason Cooper. It's going to be, that is so very close, and Jason Cooper is just going to be going around the outside to the inside, back to the outside, and then to the inside again. And I think he's going to make a position, because Andy McEwen's going to have to follow him through if he wants to stay with him. That's the key thing. So Jason Cooper's got past one. There's now a car separating between himself and Andy McEwen. So is there going to be? Jason Cooper carries a good amount of speed going through. He actually touches the back of Adam Fox's car. Going to go around the outside. We've seen this happen a couple of times. It seems to be there's grip on the outside, and it's going to be exactly the same again for Jason Cooper. Sends it round the outside. What a move. Done and dusted. And that's all of a sudden put Andy McEwen and Jason Cooper 2 cars apart from one another. Definitely not what Andy McEwen wanted. Absolutely what Jason Cooper wanted, because he's now got an opportunity to go through up the inside and carry on. Adam Fox has just got up the inside of Nick Clibbin, so that's a battle that we're going to see. Andy McEwen that's going to go around the outside, or is he going to do up the inside of both of them? Oh my word, it is so very close. You can see how much Andy McEwen wants this, because he is trying to find every which way to pass. And as you say, Ed, similar to what Cooper was having before, he can't quite make it. And 1.6 seconds now has become the gap between Cooper and Clibbins.
Yeah, this is, a brilliant fight. You wouldn't really expect this to be a battle for, 11th position, but it is a cracking fight. Honestly, just shows the level of driver that we have in this BSR Tegiwa trophy, because the racing that you see is really top-notch stuff, and also the racecraft on display is really up there as well. You can just see Jason Cooper making quick work of James Clark there up the field, and actually trying to set his sights now on Nick Postens. But we are into the final 4.5 minutes. Shane Piggott hasn't actually checked out now, because look at this. Tom Griffiths is closing in. That gap now is well under half a second. Big mistake there from Sam Smith. Is he going to collect it in time? Yes, he does. He keeps the car straight. He will obviously have to serve, I believe, a slowdown penalty, which I think he is doing now. But he's got that margin to Liam Stimson. It doesn't really matter. That only means now that I think third place is probably his best reasonable finish, as Shane Piggott and Tom Griffiths are going to start battling now very hard for these final few laps of the race. Shane Piggott is going to desperately try and hang on to the lead, but Tom Griffiths looking very quick as well. Tom, who's got a point to prove, I think is fair to say, because big damage in that first race set him back a lot. Wasn't able to make as quick progress through the field in the second as I think he was hoping for. But now this is his chance for real glory in this third race.
Well, absolutely. I think he's going to have to, again, it's a tricky track to overtake. If the person in front doesn't make mistakes, it's tricky to overtake. Shane Piggott needs to put his car in exactly the right position, keep it in the right position as well, and defend where he needs to defend, but not lose too much time. Sam Smith could catch up realistically. Unfortunately, it's going to be from P5 down. It's just going to be a battle for themselves at that point. But it could be, again, you see Sam Smith just pulled another 10th down. If these two keep battling how they are for the next couple of laps, look at that. Sam Smith, he's there or thereabouts, even with that small little moment there. And the small moment he had at the start of the lap, let's not count anything out. Craig McDonald's actually just got past James Neve as well. So let's see if we can find a battle. Let's see if we can find a replay of that as well. Where is it going to be? All down into the last chicane. That was a send for Craig McDonald. I mean, I don't think he really could throw it over the curb anymore. And similarly on the exit curve as well. Manages to keep it all in check though. So good stuff indeed there from Craig McDonald. But Tom Griffiths, this is going to be possibly... No, there's going to be one more lap after this one. This is the second to last lap. So Tom Griffiths, if he can't make it stick this time, he's got one more opportunity to after going into turn 2 and going into the first chicane. Nothing from there at the moment, though. Shane Piggott maintains his lead still. But ultimately, Sam Smith, look at that. 1.5 seconds is the gap now from 1.8. And no doubt these two are going to battle even harder, as we can see here. Shane Piggott might have to try and... Well, at the moment, he can't actually defend. He can't go in a defensive position because Tom Griffiths was already up the inside. I can't speak as well either by the sounds of it. Whoa, Ed, too much excitement. I can't contain my speech.
No, I mean, the same here. It's been a very, very exciting race. And look at this. Sam Smith is closing in now. These two have been battling so hard that... When I said that Sam Smith might have to settle for third, all of a sudden the battle has erupted at the front of the field, and that's brought Sam right back into this fight. They can see them now side by side into Piratella, the inside line taken by Tom Griffiths, but it doesn't work out for him. Shane Piggott powers his way around the outside. They will still be going wheel to wheel into Aqua Minerale. Hopefully they can sort each other out before turn in. I think they just about do. Yes, but all of a sudden Sam Smith is looking very quick as well. All of these drivers have something they want to prove, and they will try and do that with a race victory. Shane Piggott having to go defensive from Tom Griffiths, who's going to look to the outside. He could be vulnerable, though, from Sam Smith behind. No, he isn't. Good exit, though, from Tom Griffiths. You can see that gap, 0.2 of a second. That will close down immensely on the run down into the two Ravazzas. Is Shane Piggott going to hold on? Is he going to go defensive? Will Tom Griffiths look for a way through? No, he doesn't. Chooses to stay behind. Hope that he's close enough coming out of the final Ravazza to really bring a charge. Leaves a bit of time on the table and then tries to aim for the best possible exit, which he gets. He's going to be closing down now all the way along this start-finish straight for the final lap. Let's not forget, you can see the timer ticking down. You can see the white flag being waved as well. The drivers know this is their last chance for glory, their last chance to take something from this race. And look, immediately looking to get that inside line is Tom Griffiths. Is he going to get it? He's just about going to force his way down the inside. Is he late enough on the brakes to take the position? They will go side by side, and there is
look, Sam Smith.
Tiniest of contacts. Sam Smith blitzing it around the outside. Is he going to take both of them in one fell swoop? No, he hasn't. Tom Griffiths somehow has been able to hold on by just his fingertips. But look at this, Sam Smith sending it into Villeneuve. Oh, almost contact. They still keep it side by side. Good drive out of the corner. Wow, Sam Smith. What a move. What a race at the front of the field. Either one of these drivers could take something from this now. You'd have to be an absolute fool to bet on this outcome because, look, again, contact between the pair of them coming out of Tosa into Piratella. He's going to look to the outside as Tom Griffiths, try and force his way through into Aqua Minerale. Hope that there's an overlap for him. Going to have a strong exit now. He is going to have a slight overlap into Aqua Minerale. Are they going to send it? Oh my word, I thought they were going to go 3 wide. No, just 2 wide as through Aqua Minerale, as you do. Oh, I cannot call this, but there's a twitch. There's a twitch in the background there from Tom Griffiths. That could be the nail in the coffin for his race as through goes Shane Piggott. Shane will now hope to get through nice and quickly through Variante Alta, but no, there is a scrap between the pair of them. Sam Smith up the front of the field, exactly what he needs to do. He's in a titanic AM Championship fight with Andy McEwen. Andy, who's actually in a lot of strife, let's not forget, is down now into 16th place. So something's happened to Andy. Meanwhile, his main championship rival will be at the top of the field and likely to take the checkered flag as well. What a drive, what a finish to this third race.
Absolutely amazing stuff. Sam Smith, I mean, fair play indeed. So Sam Smith taking race 3 victory. What a drive. What a last lap from him. That was absolutely amazing stuff. Shane Piggott, you can see, is happy there. And I'm sure Tom Griffiths is going to be happy as well, regardless of where they finish. That was an amazing race. Oh my goodness, that was Genuinely one of the best plays of driving I've ever seen from Sam Smith. That was ridiculous. What has happened here, though? Oh my goodness, Nick Postons is ahead. What even just happened? Nick Postons, you got Arthur Panzel finishing P7, James Clark finishing 100th behind. So again, it's just up and down the field. It's just so close. It's just insane to keep up, and it's almost impossible as well. Almost impossible to really keep up with what happened in that race. I genuinely, on it, that is, in all my years of sim racing, which have been a lot, that is genuinely one of the best plays I've seen from South. But it just timed it perfectly, going up the inside of both, and obviously around the outside of Shane Piggott, and then obviously up the inside of Tom Griffiths. Just positioned the car exactly where it needed to be. Was patient. That's the key thing, and just went exactly when he needed to. Wow. I really want to have a chat with Sam after that, because that was. I want to hear it from his perspective.
What a drive. And you know what? We do often have a task here on Absolute Sim Racing to pick a driver of the round. Usually it goes across all 4 races, their performances. But you know what? After that, Sam Smith, he's got to be up there, hasn't he? You could probably tell me after the race that he feeds kittens into wood chippers, and I'd still be like, oh, cracking drive, mate. Well done.
I mean, whatever floats your boat. I'd agree with you fully there. Top 11 reverse grid though, so not a big reverse grid for the final race of the evening. Oh, that's really going to shake things up.
Andy McEwen's going to be really upset by that, because his main championship rival, Sam Smith, he's not going to have a chance to answer back now, will he? He's going to be starting down in 15th place. Oh dear, that's a big shame for him.
It is a very, very big shame. Well, but then again, you know, we've seen some good positions. We've seen some really, really good positions being gained over the course of this race. I mean, look at Jason Cooper managing to finish in P5 overall, making up 17 positions. So, you know, it can be done. Just got to have that commitment. And we saw that, to be fair, I think within the last 3 or 4 laps, Jason Cooper made up about 7 or 6 positions, or 5 positions, I believe. So, you know, again, once you get confidence, it's a lot easier to make those positions, I think. But you know, one more race, we'll have to see what happens. Let's run you through the results of this race. So there we have confirmed top 11 reverse grid for the final round, but the third race of the evening. And it is going for glory to Sam Smith from Gatton Sim Sport, Shane Piggott in P2 with Tom Griffiths in at the final podium spot, Craig McDonald in P4, Jason Cooper rounding out the top 5, Nick Posson 6th, James Clark in 7th, Arthur Panzel P8, James Neve P9, and then Nick Clibbins in P10. Lee Holmes P11, Adam Fox in P12 with Ryan Main P13, Liam Stimpson in P14 with Andy McEwen not having the race that he would have wanted in P15. Julian Schroer 16th, Michael Linscombe Hatfield in 17th, and Fiona Siddons in P18 with another strong finishing position, a very consistent finishing position as well. Colin Sampson P19, Mark Oliver in P20, Luke Cooper 21st, Douglas Stewart 22nd, Glenn Humberstone in P23, and unfortunately the only person that wasn't able to finish on the lead lap was Simon Robson. So there we go. That is your finishing confirmed grid for round and race 3.
Yes, absolutely. You know what, Dan? I sweet talked him into it while you were running through that finishing order. I jumped in and told Sam Smith to get his mum in the interview waiting room where we can have a word with the race victor now. What a drive. What a titanic final lap that was from you. There was a time when I thought 3rd place is all you're going to have to settle for from that mistake coming into the first chicane. I think a few laps until the end, but you fought back brilliantly. And that last lap, especially going side by side all the way through that first sector, was absolutely amazing. What was it like from you, though? You must be absolutely buzzing after that.
Oh, absolutely buzzing, but shaking, you know, that nervous shake, that adrenaline shake, yeah. Just come out of it a bit of a wobble on, but yeah, brilliant race, really enjoyed it. Great racing from Shane and Tom. Yeah, great, really, really good.
What was your attitude though going into that last lap? Was it just send it? Because we saw your move around the outside, trying to get both of them through the first chicane, and then when it didn't quite work out for you, was it just a matter of just hitting it and hope coming into Villeneuve?
Well, yeah, I went round. I saw those two going side by side into the first corner, so I backed out a little bit, took my run to get a bit more run out of the corner, came past Shane, thought I was going to go around the outside of Tom, and he came across and blocked, but I got a call to say clear left, so I veered left and took it to the left-hand side of Tom, down into Villeneuve, and just thought, if I hold him side by side all the way down to the hairpin, I can slow him right down in the hairpin, and then I've got the run to Acqua Minerale then, and that's my favourite part of the track.
Yeah, that really worked out for
I got
you
a
in
slow
this.
down as well. I got a slow down on the last lap as I came through Acqua Minerale. As I came out of Acqua Minerale, I had the slow down, but because I'd been in the slipstream the whole time, I was dropping 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 all the way to the line.
Oh, so did you actually clear it before you got across the line then?
Yes.
Oh, that is just close enough. But what a drive from you. And like you said, excellent final battle. But
Can I
as well,
interrupt
that's the
one
only
second?
good
What's the
race-
reverse grid? Sorry, Ed, because I'm hosting as well tonight. So.
Oh, it's an 11 reverse grid. Sorry, Sam, I forgot to put it in the chat in all my excitement. Usually, pulling back the curtain a bit, I have to tell the drivers what the
Is it
reverse
11?
grid is. It's an 11 reverse grid, which is good news for you. I think
11,
one of the smallest ones you could have gotten as a
Yeah,
race victor. So obviously good for
better.
you. But as
That's
well, that was
Excellent.
just an immense drive from you. Only your second race victory of the season as well, but you look like a seasoned pro up there.
Yeah, it was really great fun. And to be fair, last night, me and Tom spent a whole race almost side by side and battling with each other. When I took him out in the first race, and we just followed each other around and battled all the way. And to be fair, I got to hand a bit of it to Tom because we really helped each other. So yeah, kudos to Tom as well. I think it helped him because he was right up there.
Yeah, absolutely. What a cracking drive from you, though, mate. Dan was just saying as well at the end that was the best bit of driving that he'd seen in all his years of sim racing. And to be fair, I have to echo those sentiments. What a drive from you. I'm sure you're very happy. But of course, we have a thing where we like to allow drivers, when we've interviewed them, to have a time to shout out anyone they want. So the floor is yours, Sam.
Obviously, to the Simtech and Gatton boys. And to my missus and family for letting me have all this time, the usual people. My mate Eddie might be watching tonight, so a shout out to Eddie and Craig Cockrell because he's not racing tonight, but hopefully he's watching, so shout out to those boys as well.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully Craig sees this and decides to get back in the cockpit for the next time out. But thank you very much, Sam. What a drive from you.
Cheers, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks.
And with that, Sam exits the commentary booth. And wow, Dan, that was an amazing race from you. But we do unfortunately have to go to a quick break, don't we?
Yes, we do indeed. We're going to come back in but a few moments' time while we set the final round up and the final race for us here at round 10 of the BSR MX5 Tegiwa Trophy. It's been absolutely fantastic having everyone as well. Make sure you stick around for when we come back for the final race of the evening. It's going to be a cracker with the top 11 reverse grid. Make sure you stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Absolute Sim Racing. Doesn't time fly when you're having fun? The fourth race is already about to get underway here, just a minute to go until we see the cars lining up on the grid. What an evening it's been, though, Dan, hasn't it? Imola, I was saying, look, I was looking forward to this after the last round at Sebring. You know what? It hasn't disappointed at all. That third race, oh my word, what a race that was.
Oh, what a race indeed, and we're being treated to another one. Last race of the evening. It was a top 11 reverse grid, so not the standard of larger grid swaps that we would normally see, but at the same time, it's going to reverse grid nevertheless. So it's going to spice up some things. I am absolutely sure. And what a way to round off! It's going to be an amazing last race. I am 100% sure.
Yeah, it definitely will be, and you can see that the times has been moving along. You can see it's a little bit later again in the evening. Track temperature still down low though, so the drivers will be used to these conditions. What can they do though? As one is about to finish, and we're going to get very soon into the race session. All drivers making their way up to the grid. You can see Luke Cooper will start. I think actually no, he went from pole position. Yes, Lee Holmes will start from pole position with Nick Libbins alongside him on the front row, with James Neve third, Arthur Mansell fourth, James Clark and Nick Postens make up the third row, with Jason Cooper seventh. He's definitely one to watch for this next race. Ahead of Craig McDonald, Tom Griffiths and Shane Piggott in 10th. Sam Smith will start 11th, ahead of, I believe that was Adam Fox. Ryan Main 13th, Liam Simpson 14th, Annie McCune 15th, ahead Julian Schroer, Michael Linscombe Hatfield, Fiona Simmons, Colin Sanson, Mark Oliver, Luke Cooper, Douglas Stewart, Glenn Humberston and Simon Robson, who complete your field for the fourth and final race.
They do indeed. 10 seconds left to go, and then we'll be getting ready for this final race. There we are. The lights are about to come on. Who is going to get the jump? Who is going to get a good start? It's Lee Holmes on pole. Is there going to be a good start? And away we go. It's actually a very good start from Lee Holmes. Equally a good start from James Neve and Arthur Pandel as well. But Nick Clemens may have got caught out just a little bit. So is he going to lose out on any positions? James Neve has actually dropped down. He's actually dropped down behind Arthur Pandel. Nick Postens has dropped behind. Jason Cooper's already up into P5. They go through into turn 1. Just about all well and good. Someone's actually off, and that's Nick Postens. So he's lost out on a couple of positions already. It's still early days yet, so it's not over yet. This gaggle of cars on here. Sam Smith's having his own, making up his own track. Manages to keep it just about in a straight line. Not too sure what happened there. Oh my goodness, what on earth happened there? And you know what? I think that was actually, it was Nick Postens again getting caught up. So turn 1 and turn 3 as well. He all got caught up
on the exit. Oh, and Andy McEwen's right in the middle of it. You can see there just behind actually Adam Fox. He's got to go through, and there's a spinner. Oh, have they all got through that? Somehow they have. How on earth did everyone avoid the spinning Liam Stimson? There's a massive checkup in the background as drivers on different levels of pace, obviously having to get on the brakes, lift out as well, and trying to avoid the spinning Liam Stimson. How on earth has there not been a bigger incident, though? It's only really been Nick Postens and Liam that have suffered in this opening lap. Tell you what, it's been a relatively safe start.
Oh, as you say that.
Oh, yeah, as I say that, again, there's a little bit of a scary moment.
That's Ryan Main.
That was Ryan Main, yeah, very well done spotted. Look at that. Craig McDonald as well. Actually, I think he's just gotten ahead of James Neve further up the field into 5th position. Look at all these cars, though. Luke Cooper trying to find a way through, and Ryan Main gets a good exit, though, out of Variante Alta. He's going to try and squeeze his car down the inside, which he will in time for the final couple of corners. Inside line will be afforded to him. He'll have to break that a little bit earlier and then try and hold the inside line, which he does, and finds his way through. Good, clean move there from Luke Cooper. I think Ryan Main as well didn't want to fight it too much, was opting to stay behind just a little bit. Oh, a big moment from Colin Sansom. Just a wheel onto the grass on the exit, spins the car around, and he meets with the wall.
Not good at all. Might see if we can get a replay of that in a bit. But right at the very front, Nick Clibbins and Lee Holmes are going to have a bit of a battle. Similarly as well, Arthur Panzel and Jason Cooper are going to go door to door as well. Is it going to be Jason Cooper that lucks out, that comes out on top? Oh, it's close, but he does indeed. So Jason Cooper managing to get up into P3 this early in the race. Fantastic stuff indeed. He's already made up 4 positions. At the front though, what's Lee Holmes going to do? He's going to go possibly down the inside of Nick Clibbins going into turn 5. Doesn't quite make his stick though through the second chicane. Clibbins had a bit of a moment though. That's possibly going to allow Jason Cooper to go up the inside. Note, because Lee Holmes cuts it off. And then Nick Clibbins takes his normal racing line. Unfortunately, Lee Holmes can't take his normal racing line, and that could possibly allow Cooper to get a good run. Similarly, Pandel and Griffiths are now having a good run. This 5-car battle for the race lead at this moment in time as it stands could possibly become a 6 or even 7-car battle if everyone continues to battle as they are. Realistically, though, Jason Cooper and Arthur Pandel are the 2 probably quickest drivers in this little train as well. But, as we have spoken about, if you can keep the car in the right place, I mean, realistically, well, that's all you need to do. Keep the car where it needs to be, defend where you need to defend and not lose any time, you're good to go, and you'll be able to maintain that position. The person I feel sorry for is Nick Clibbins, because he's not got anyone in front of him helping him along, and yet everyone else behind him has. So he needs to make sure that he extends the gap as much as possible. Half a second is minimum here. And at the moment, that's exactly where it is. But Jason Cooper might try and go up the inside of Lee Holmes. It's going to be their side-by-side already. I think realistically, unless Lee Holmes is going to have a very, very good breaking point, trying to hang it around the outside, can't quite do it. He's going to try and get the cutback. Doesn't work. So instead, he's going to have to wait there. He's going to have to wait and wait and wait to try and get the inside going
cracking
through.
Exit from Jason.
It was
there.
good, wasn't it?
Cut across you. Very good run. He could be challenging Nick Clibbins into the first corner even before, because look at that. The gap now under 1/10 of a second. He's going to pull to what was the outside line, but will then become the inside line all the way down. He's got his nose in front. You know what? He's probably going to be ahead into the braking zone. As look at this. Arthur Panzel wheels onto the grass. He's going to try and take all of them side by side with Jason Cooper into the first corner. Doesn't work out for him. Has to take a compromise line through the rest of the section. Gets a slight bump, and that's the controller effect. I think just a littlest bit of looseness at the rear. Isn't able to save it, and unfortunately loses out in quite a big way. So Jason Cooper gets through into the lead. Look at this though. Tom Griffiths, Lee Holmes side by side through the Villeneuve chicane. Good little battle between the pair of them. Tom Griffiths up into 3rd position. Andy McEwen is joining the fray as well. You can see him down in 6th position, trying to find a way through on Adam Fox, right up behind the rear bumper. I might look for a move into Piratella if he's able to get the overlap, if he can send a move down the inside. Opts better of it. Couple was onto the grass on turn in. That might upset him a little bit. Drops back as a result, coming down into Aqua Minerale. I think from Andy's perspective, you can see Jason Cooper is likely to check out ahead of Nick Clibbins. So he's just going to bide his time, make sure he gets through this nice and cleanly, and hope that he can get ahead of his main rival in the championship of Nick Clibbins. He's doing well though against Sam Smith, who I think is his closest competitor, and also let's not forget who won the last race, is down in 14th place. So Andy, I think while he might be driving and looking to get the best result, he's going to be very aware of the championship.
Yes, exactly. Play the long game. Play the long game. You've got to make sure that you keep the championship alive for as long as it possibly can be, and with a couple of rounds to go, that should be very much in the forefront of everyone's mind who's possibly in with a running. It's going to be...
Slow down. Is that from Arthur Panzel there?
It isn't. Well, it's gone from bad to us. I think that lap, definitely not the lap that he would have wanted, and that's dropped him down. Let's look at that all the way down into P13. Possibly, though, he should make a... Oh, that was a bit of a moment there for James Clark. Ryan May's going to get a good run, but Arthur Panzel going to try and redeem himself and make up a few positions. He's possibly going to get one, which is going to be Ryan May. Might even try and get a second, which is going to be James Clark. And there it is, just clicked on the timing tower. So Arthur Panzel technically ahead of this battle here. They're going to go possibly 3 wide going into the first chicane. No, they're not, because James Clark backs out of it. And then Arthur Panzel making up 2 positions on the main straight. So fair play indeed. Like I said,
what's happened with Nick Clibbins? He's dropped back a lot, actually. He was quite high up there. Was there a moment? Was there contact? We'll have a look at this replay. You can see how close the number 11 of Tom Griffiths is. And actually, no, he just runs really wide on the brakes as well. So I think he got a slowdown or something. Had to concede the position, dropping back a lot. I suppose, though, Tom Griffiths won't be too upset about that, getting that position nice and easy. Didn't need to worry about fighting for it. Andy McEwen as well up there. Could see a podium finish coming his way, as long as he can get through on either Lee Holmes or Tom Griffiths, whichever way that fight for second goes. Because, again, I think the race lead is just out of touch from the rest of the field. As soon as Jason Cooper gets into the lead, you know he's not really likely to give it up, is he? Just because of how quick he is in clear air.
No, again, when you look at it in that sort of perspective, I think realistically, no, you've got to have some form of very, very fast pace, and you've got to be put in a position. Oh, Glenn Humberstone goes wide. That's very, very wide. He is still leading, bear in mind, from Fiona Siddons, who's currently P2 in the AM category, and the gap is a fair chunk. But at the same time, mistakes like that are not going to, they're going to be costly. They are going to be very, very costly because, again, bear in mind, all these drivers, they're battling for position. Who was that spun off, though? Was that Sam Smith? I think it was. So the star of race 3, and Sam Smith, look at that, Variante Alta chicane, just gets on the throttle as he compresses into the curb, and it just spits him out. That's a tricky one, that. Big, big shame there for Sam Smith.
Yeah, although that is going to be good news for Andy McEwen, isn't it? Who's going to see his advantage in the Pro-Am Championship grow just that little bit more. He would, of course, like to finish the evening on the podium and as well on the AM class, or the Pro-Am class top step as well. He does need to get ahead of Lee Holmes to do exactly that, though. Can he muster up as we look behind from Adam Fox, who's in a bit of a battle with Shane Piggott. A little bit compromised of a line through the Villeneuve chicane. I don't think he'll be under threat into Tosa. Although you can see that 127 of Shane Piggott is looking very racy back behind him. As what on earth was that? That was a definite 88 Tech car. Slow, and that was actually off the track at Tosa. Was that maybe one of the cars who is a lap down? Yes, that's Mark Oliver, I think, getting out of the way, and then as well having a bit of trouble himself. So that might be it for him. We'll see if he's able to carry on going. As long as he finishes one lap down, of course, he'll still score points. 5 and a bit minutes still to go as we see Ryan Main and James Clark battling their way through Aqua Minerale. Ryan Main looking for a good run, but well held from James Clark. He's able to keep himself in 12th place.
Oh, indeed. Wow, Adam Fox. What a send up the inside of Shane Piggott. Wowzer, that was good. We just got the tail end of that. But by the way, that was absolutely fantastic to watch. Unfortunately, he's going to be compromised, and Shane Piggott now is going to try and do exactly the same, coming through. Last of the late breakers again, going into the second to last corner. And Shane Piggott doesn't need to have to really defend all that much when he overtakes that move, because that's done and dusted. But now, maybe not an optimal position to overtake at, because Adam Fox is now going to have the run going through into the first chicane. So he's got all of this straight. You can see he's already gaining a bit of time. Goes to the inside at this point now. Well, Shane Piggott can't really do anything. Unfortunately, neither can Adam Fox. Julian Schroeder, though, he's going to have front row seats to what's going to happen here. He's going to be able to also catch up a bit to both of these drivers, because neither of them have now got a toe. Playing into the hands quite nicely of Julian Schroeder. Adam Fox has to go, whoa, hey, that was a bit close there from Julian Schroeder. Don't think he was really expecting Adam Fox to break that early. But ultimately, no harm, no foul. What is happening down between Nick Postons and Douglas Stewart as well? Nick Postons having some early incidents, managing to recover now into P15, possibly even P14. We'll have to see how this battle develops. And again, a little bit further up the field as well. I did see Andy McEwen that was very, very close to the back of Lee Holmes.
Like 2/10, wasn't it?
Yeah,
between
now it's gone up.
and Lee.
Something's
Now it's gone back up. So I think, something might have happened, or maybe Andy McEwen had to check up when he was trying to make a move and that held him. But look at Nick Postons' run. Very nice on the exit. This is going to help him all the way up into Piratella. He's going to get the inside and the overlap, and maybe even a nose in front as they come into the braking zone. This corner right at the top of the circuit before plunging their way down into Aqua Minerale. There's an attempt at a cutback actually from the 777. Maybe if Douglas Stewart tried to hold it around the outside, he would have got a better run out of the corner, but I'd say it's of course 2020. Good move though nonetheless from Nick Postons, who moves up into 14th place. And as you said, the gap has increased between Andy McEwen and Lee Holmes. I think it's slowly but surely starting to come back down. So maybe in the final moments of the race, we're going to see that battle reignite itself once more.
You may very well do. We're going to jump to that in a moment. Just want to see what happens because Craig McDonald, look at Craig McDonald, the teammate for Nick Poston, so we can see, is only 3/10 behind Douglas Stewart. I wonder if there's going to be some team tactics.
Nick Clibbins in the pit.
Here.
What's happened to Nick Clibbins? He's in the pit lane and all of the other cars are just going to blitz on by. Is that maybe a matter of he didn't serve down a slowdown in time and got a penalty or something? That's the only thing I can think of to see him come into the pits. That's left, of course, a huge gap for the rest to obviously come through. You can see him there driving through the pit lane on your screens. Doesn't seem to be any clear bit of damage. Look at this. Lee Holmes, Andy McEwen side by side into Villeneuve. This is not the final lap. There's still one more to go after this. So maybe Andy McEwen is going to try and stay close behind and coming maybe out of the final of the two Ravatsas is when he's going to try and make his move, you know, and try and find a way through, because if he can, that's going to be an excellent opportunity, of course. That big slipstream down into the first corner. He's still close though, isn't he? He could try and move really at any point.
He's close enough. He's got actually a very good run going down into Equinura. What's it going to be? Has a quick look. Doesn't quite decide on that move at this particular moment. Maybe again deciding himself. Oh, that's a bit of a nudge. No, exactly. Not what we wanted to happen. Oh, is he going to wait?
Andy, very, very sporting. Look at that. You can see the brake lights flashing, allowing Lee Holmes to stay back in front and again tapping the brakes just to make sure he doesn't get any untoward advantage. That has, of course, allowed James Neve and Shane Piggott to close in. However, I'm not sure if they are going to be a factor unless something like that happens again. So the fight, while it has, well, been a bit racy, it's still very clean and respectful. You can see the smallest of taps from Andy McEwen made Lee Holmes lose the ground, lose the position temporarily, but sportsman-like driving from Andy allowed the fight to continue and has given us a real treat coming into these final moments, because yet again Andy McEwen very close. If he can get a good exit, which you know what he does, he's going to challenge all the way down into the first corner as Jason Cooper has taken the white flag.
Yep, indeed. Jason Cooper taking the white flag. Here comes Andy McEwen. Like I said, I thought he was going to try and he thought he was going to wait till the next lap to make the move after the little incident that he had. And here it is, going to be coming down into the first chicane. Is it going to be? Do you know what? He's already ahead, but we can see that the Lee Holmes is still pulling up the inside. It's going to go side by side. Andy McEwen to the outside, to the inside, back to the outside again. And Lee Holmes managing to maintain that position. But now look at James Neve. He's only about half a second behind. I know what you were talking about there, and if something happens, well, something is happening. Because look at this. There's a big train behind as well there as well, being led, by the looks of it, by Shane Piggott. And I think this could very well be, I mean, James Neve, possibly even, sorry, that is, James Neve possibly could, you know, maybe pick up some last-minute positions here, especially if these guys battle number 7. That's Adam Fox, actually. Apologies. That isn't... That is Adam Fox there, in that position, as we can see. So, yeah, it's all just kicking off. Andy McEwen wants this position. He wants a podium so badly. This is his best opportunity for one that he's had all race. And he's going to be absolutely working as much as he can. Bit hesitant this time as you can imagine, because this time last lap was where the contact was made. No contact this time, though. Smashes over the curb as hard as he possibly can to try and gain as much pace as he can, but to no avail at the moment.
It's going to be all about the exit from this corner, because the next best opportunity to make an overtake is into the first of the two Ravatsas. And Andy, does he get the drive out a little bit? And he's going to get the slipstream all the way down into the next corner. So is this his final chance for an overtake? He's going to be very close. It might be a late lunge if he goes for it. Meanwhile, Jason Cooper at the front of the field has been absolutely stellar. Tom Griffiths on this last lap has closed the gap, but not closed enough, unfortunately, for himself. So Jason Cooper will take the checkered flag in first place for the third time tonight. Cracking drive. Look at this. Andy McEwen, Lee Holmes close, but no cigar for Andy McEwen. Brilliant drive, though, from Lee Holmes, who takes third place and the Pro-Am class, but by less than 1/10 of a second, nearly 600ths of a second. Separate the pair of them. Brilliant drive, though, and I was so glad that it was kept respectful between the pair of them. James Neve really close as well to round out the Pro-Am podium. Oh, and look at these two Rapid Motorsport cars close at the line. Craig McDonald and Nick Postance knows the tail at the checkered flag. Ryan Main, though, what a drive from him, obviously taking the class victory. Actually, no, he wasn't taking the class victory, but that was my mistake. It was Glenn Humberston who took the class victory ahead of the likes of Fiona Siddons and I believe Linscombe Hatfield as well. Cracking drive all across the field there. Jason Cooper, another brilliant drive. As soon as he got into the lead, he didn't look likely to lose it. That brings his tally of race victories from this evening at the very least up to 3 from 4.
Cracking stuff indeed. Jason Cooper again showing why he is one of the fastest drivers in BSR and one of the most consistent, and also why he is up there fighting for championships. Great stuff indeed. 3 out of 4 once again for Jason Cooper. Andy McEwen though, feel sorry for him. Half a tenth in it. Half a tenth in that podium. Almost nothing. If you look at that in terms of position, in terms of distance, it was maybe 3 or 4 meters. Such a small amount. But again, something that goes to show how close this is for everyone and how close the battling is with all of these drivers. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Here are your final race results. Jason Cooper for race 4 taking the race win. Tom Griffiths P2, Lee Holmes in P3. Andy McEwen narrowly missing out on that all-important last podium. James Nee P5, Shane Biggett in 6th, and Adam Fox P7. Julian Schroer P8, Arthur Panzel in 9th with Luke Cooper rounding out the top 10. James Clark P11, Ryan Main in P12 with Nick Parsons 13th, Craig McDonald in P14, Douglas Stewart in 15th, Glenn Humberstone 16th, Sam Smith in 17th, and Fiona Siddons in P18. Nick Clibbins P19, Michael Linscombe Hatfield in P20, and then Colin Sampson, Liam Simpson, Simon Robson, and Mark Oliver in P21, 22, 23, and P24. And everyone finishing on that down. So I believe that means that everyone actually scores points. The entire grid of 24 will be scoring points. Fantastic stuff. I don't think I've actually, we've not had that for a while, which is great to see.
Yeah, definitely. And it's very surprising as well in the 4th race where drivers usually push their cars maybe a little bit too hard and maybe make a few mistakes, maybe have a bit of contact as well. But tell you what, the racing here tonight has been absolutely stellar. And I know you said you felt a bit sorry for Andy McEwen, but I don't, because we were treated to a great fight, weren't we, between himself and Leah Holmes right at the end there. In fact, we've been treated to excellent racing all throughout the races from start to finish. The first race, the second, especially the third, to be fair, and that final lap, and of course the 4th. Gave us great action everywhere we looked. But now we will look forward to the next round. We're into the final 2 rounds of the season, round 11 and round 12 still to come. And, well, the next track on the calendar is Road Atlanta. So what can the drivers do to master that tricky bit of tarmac? Obviously, again, elevation change when you come up the hill into turn 3 and then all the way down through the S's. It's going to be amazing to see the snaking train of MX5s. And then again, a lot of slipstream at that circuit, very similar to Imola, coming into the chicane at the end of the lap. We might be seeing plenty of moves being made there and plenty of action as well. No drivers coming into the commentary box either, Dan. So I think it's time for us to say goodbye to everyone. We hope you've enjoyed watching all of the action here in the BSR Tegiwa MX5 trophy. And if you have, make sure to give us a subscribe, like the stream as well, and share it around with all of your friends who enjoy a good bit of exciting racing. And from myself and from Dan Handover, it is a goodbye, take care, and stay safe.